Get a load of this podcast. Welcome to the Larrycast.
Come
You know,
get you some
this is the first
crunchy.
thing I need to debate. We need a different intro.
Welcome to the Larrycast. Today we're going to be debating a few things, primarily based around religion. Because in this call,
Primarily.
we have a Satanist, a Christian, and a agnostic all in the call, all at once.
Okay. Anyway.
Which is
Also this random weird girl that came out of the woods. We can't explain that one.
yeah, she just kind of here. I don't know how that happened.
This guy with this unrelated book in the background, he's screaming at these two girls. Just happened to be in the studio while this is all happening.
Average
Yeah,
Christian.
we kind of need to hire better employees.
Yeah, maybe we should hire ones that are who are a little more camera shy.
We probably shouldn't be hiring Floridians.
What are you talking about? That's just the singer of Nuclear Rabbit.
This is the con of hiring babies we bought from Malaysia to be our actors.
We're not getting into Malaysian babies again.
Okay.
Hypothetically, is it moral to own a Malaysian baby?
No!
Let's keep on topic, okay?
Alright.
Anyway,
Alright.
So first off, let me just say this is not gonna be our first one about Gwenny here, and that's because this is primarily between Atticus, Karen, and me. Karen's.
A little
Can you
bit
just
at
call
Eli,
me
'cause
by
she's
my
here,
real
but
name
she's
at
mainly
this
just
point?
listening.
I'm Austin. Sorry, Austin. Oh shit, you disappeared. Anyway, for context, Atticus is a Satanist, Austin is a Christian, and then I'm just kind of agnostic, and then I'm in the middle here, and we have both sides of the debate here. So let's start off with our first topic. First off, how do you feel about the merging of religion and politics?
Hold on. First, I want to set something straight real quick. Basically, Ryder's gonna be the judge here in between this.
Order of the court.
And he's gonna be like mediating the discussion, basically.
Did you just slam your banjo, Ryder?
We have a sound effect for that.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
Anyways, I digress. So, first question. Let's do it.
All right. Yeah. How do you guys feel about the merging of religion and politics?
It's fucking retarded and should stay separate no matter what.
I think it's dumb, but I see why it happens because like at the end of the day, people are going to have belief systems, and those belief systems, like other aspects of their life, are going to influence their politics.
Sure, in some ways, I feel like, your religion can dictate how you want to live your life, but I don't think that your religion should dictate everyone else's lives, which is why it shouldn't be in any way, shape, or form involved.
I think that's
the
good thing. I think that's the good thing about like Satanism and Christianity, though, is you have the choice to walk these paths. You know what I mean?
Yeah, compared to like a theocracy.
That's the good thing about specifically religion in general. You can choose a different religion. You don't have to.
Unless you're Islam.
Unless you're Islam.
Yeah, that's like the one exception here.
Okay, well, we don't have any Islamis here, so we're not going to get into that. Muslims.
Yeah, we're
shit.
probably already gonna get flamed for saying that statement alone.
You're gonna get flamed
Actually,
for that.
plot twist. I'm actually a Muslim. Love Muhammad.
Stop!
I'm
Right
sorry.
here.
I'm sorry.
We're from
Right
America,
here.
dude. We're gonna get shot.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Next time we walk outside, if you continue that.
Okay, I'm gonna stop this joke from being a terrorist joke. Let's just continue on the debate.
This is gonna be the absolute catalyst for World War III. Like, you're gonna say some like Islam stuff.
Next subject, Ryder. Think of a better subject. Second subject.
Okay, so before this, what were we arguing before we started this debate?
About whether Satan was like morally right.
Oh yes,
Or
yeah,
God
that's,
was morally
that's what I
right.
was trying to ask.
Well, it started out with Twitter. It started out with me arguing with people on Twitter and him being like, "No, that's ruining your mental health. You need Jesus or something like that." And then that turned into.
Well, I didn't say
Is
that last
Satan
part,
morally
but
wrong?
yeah.
Whatever. Who cares?
But yeah, I think that's what we're gonna do next.
I want to lose my credibility already. God damn it.
Atticus is a Satanist, so I think it's good. So I think it's good to ask, how do you feel on Satan? Was he morally wrong? Was he like morally mistreated? How do you feel on Satan?
Well, before we ask that, I'd like to ask, was Jesus morally right? Because I do believe he was. Was God.
Yeah, I generally think he was too. And in fact, he tried several times to get people like on his side, especially the people that he was supposed to be the king of, and they just straight up strung him out on a cross,
Well,
got him killed.
see, the thing is, he wasn't really here. Allow me to speak for a moment, if you may. Jesus wasn't really supposed to be the king. He was just an average guy. However, he was one of the most base people alive at the time he was in. He was probably one of the most progressive people who actually, like, you know, wanted to live in a specific way and allow everyone to live their own lives at the time, making him probably one of the better people out of anyone there. However, that's not to say that Satan is morally wrong, which I want to get into next.
Is Satan morally wrong? I feel like the mistake Satan made was the fact that like he thought he could take on God when he just wasn't that powerful, and then he got punished for it, right?
Well,
because he wanted to be worshipped like God was. He basically wanted to be
and that's
God.
kind of, I feel like, a misconception in a way. He didn't want to be mistaken as a god, or he didn't want to be worshipped as a god. He wanted people to think freely, which is why he, you know, tricked Eve into eating the apple, you know?
Well, quote unquote tricked.
Quote unquote. It was.
I mean, Eve
but
really
the
just
snake
like,
was representative of Satan or whatever. So.
I mean, Eve really just like fell for that when there were like several ways where you could pick that apart as a lie. I don't know.
To be
what
fair,
Eve was
they were
thinking
pretty
then.
stupid before they ate the apple. I digress.
Yeah, they were.
Fair.
Satan, right? He's not necessarily morally wrong. He just wanted the free will of the people, and he punishes bad people in hell.
Well,
He punishes bad people in hell. I mean, yeah, he does, but like he also likes those bad people because he can put them in his like army. He's got like an army of like fallen angels, so that he
Well,
can trick
then-
other people.
That's kind of not really.
oh well.
What?
Okay,
He doesn't have an army of demons to harass people that were made from real people. That's not how that works,
well, you could.
if
Well,
anything.
well, that does lead me to. That does actually lead me to another question. Do you I hear people make the argument that like Satan or God doesn't send people to hell. People choose to go to hell. How do you feel on that?
I
Well-
mean, he does directly send them, but I feel like it's also like, you know, you have a choice in life, right? You can walk this path or you can walk this path. The accountability's still on you as a human
Here's-
being. So like you have freedom of choice, but that doesn't mean you're necessarily free from consequences.
Obviously. Here's the thing. Satan isn't the one who pushes people to hell. It's God making all the decisions there. He's the ultimate judge or whatever, you know? He's the one making all the decisions, correct?
I mean, yeah, but there's also situations where like Jesus was walking in like the desert for 40 days and 40 nights, and when Jesus was like at his weakest, the devil tried to tempt him into sin. And he tried using several like Old Testament verses to tempt him into sin, and Jesus was like, "No, go away, you devil." And then the devil essentially like went away because Jesus was more powerful than Satan.
Bro really just went, "Shut up, devil."
Yeah, he really
Not
kind of
today,
did.
Satan! But here's the thing. Isn't it technically a good idea to be critical of like beliefs that you hold and beliefs that you think are told to you that are good? It's good to question authority is what I'm asking here, correct?
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
obviously. I question authority on several things. You already know me, and I know you. I think it's
Yes.
absolutely correct to question authority. So that's what I mainly did when I was getting into Christianity. I was like, wait a minute, how would this make sense? Or how would this make sense? And I go to this verse, and I'm like, oh, okay, that explains this part. Okay, well, what about this verse? And like, does it have this connection towards this? Okay, that makes sense. I feel like
That's why you left the
Right.
That's why you left the Catholic Church, right?
yeah, because like the Catholic Church like obviously edited things in that Bible that were not of the original Bible. And so not only that, they were the main leaders of the Christian Crusades, which I don't agree with.
Every version of the Bible is rewritten in some form and has probably a lot of views interjected, especially with there being so many different books that are, you know, in the Bible that other people have written.
That's the thing that a lot of progressive Christians always argue about, is that a lot of these things that are supposedly a sin are actually like mistranslations or whatever. How do you feel about that?
I feel
How
like
do you
there's
feel
some of them where they could be right, but I feel like there's a lot where they're just like straight up wrong, especially when other verses like say, hey, no, homosexuals aren't getting into heaven, right? And they're like, well, it's not really a sin to be gay. Leviticus like straight up says it, like if you're a homosexual, if you're a liar, if you're like da 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 da, you're a sinner. You've sinned.
Well, one argument I've actually heard, in just from an interesting video I watched, actually like from a progressive Christian like talking about their life, is they like to argue that sex before marriage isn't a sin, because supposedly, right, the word for someone who has sex before marriage, what is it called again?
Adultery.
Yeah.
Not adultery, like specifically like somebody who
It
has
falls
sex.
under adultery by the Bible.
Premarital sex.
Yeah.
Well, but I mean, like the name,
Premarital
like,
sex.
there's like a word for like people. There's like a word for people like
Fornicators.
Fornicators, yes.
Yeah, there
and
it is.
Like supposedly, she argues that the word for like like when the Bible says fornicators, like when referring to people who sin, it's actually a mistranslation of two Hebrew words that mean to have sex with your slave, aka like rape. And she argues that like the story of like the lady in the Bible who took a bath, took a bath on top of a rooftop, like to supposedly like woo over people. She actually just did that because back then that was considered the most private way to have a bath. And the story was about, actually about one of the king of that area who was watching
Being
over
a
her.
rapist.
Who was watching over the whole time and used his rule to rape her, essentially.
Oh yeah, it's the story of King Solomon, right? Because her husband was off to war by the emperor, and then he used that as a tactical advantage. Be like, oh her boyfriend is off to war. Oh, she's up on that roof there.
Yeah.
And then he went over and did all that, which is disgusting by any standards.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
it's more so
disgusting.
about rape than premarital sex, by far.
But how do you feel on premarital sex? I actually want to hear this. I haven't really heard like why exactly, like God aside, like why is premarital sex morally wrong?
To
That's a great
me,
question.
it's morally wrong because, like, yeah, you could have premarital sex, but like, see, couldn't I just like wait till marriage just so I can make double sure that it's like a genuine relationship that I think could actually go somewhere?
That's a double-edged sword, though. There's a lot of instances where people get married for other like deep down reasons than because they love each other that much. Like for example,
Yeah.
In case my dad is watching, take this with a grain of salt because I don't
Tax
know.
write-offs.
Because I don't know everything. But my grandma, my mom's side of the family, supposedly part of the reason my mom got married to my dad was because she thought it would make her less gay. And also, people sometimes have marriage to attempt to like save their relationship. Same with having a baby. Sometimes,
That's that Southern logic.
That's Southern logic right there.
Yeah, it really.
If I get
is
married to a
something
man,
like-
it'll make me less gay.
So like, let's say for like, there's just like a lot of lust between. There's like not maybe lust, but like sexual desires between two partners that they have to get out. And sometimes you do have to get it out. There is generally like a condition where like if sometimes if women don't have sex for long enough, their uterus just won't work. Like they'll like retract when they attempt to have sex. Like
I don't want to be the Reddit incel here and be like, well, I mean, technically masturbation is good for you, but yes, masturbation is actually like beneficial to
believe
you
it or not,
generally.
Like, not like both like biologically and psychologically, masturbation can actually be healthy. It's just when you do it there's just
If you're addicted to it, then you're just disgusting, though. You know.
well, yeah.
The argument I hear from Christians about like masturbation in particular, it's about like, yeah, you know, you could do this, but like, where's the heart in it?
Fair enough.
There doesn't need to be any. It's just for your own benefit. Which there's nothing wrong with doing things for your own benefit.
Oh yeah.
I mean, if it does something to like actually like help you, then yeah. But like,
It does.
The thing,
It stops your prostate from just, getting cancer and slowly developing conditions over time.
bro, I'm gonna get cancer at 50 from my prostate either way.
I mean, you probably will, knowing some of the things you told me, but
Yeah.
But anyway, we're getting a little. We are getting a little off. We are getting a little sidetracked.
Yeah.
What was I saying before?
Christianity.
Too vague. Oh yeah,
Christianity.
about okay. about premarital sex or whatever. So like there's
Oh yeah.
so like I was gonna say this. So let's just say this, but like a sexual desire that they're just like it's very hard for them to keep in. Like I feel like a lot of Christian couples would probably not get married because they both really love each other, but get married just for the sake that they're able to have sex now.
Exactly. Think about it.
That
It's like
definitely
Mormon
happens.
soaking. You know?
Yeah, it definitely happens, but like the way the Bible says get married, it's like, okay, get married for God and then until death do us part. But interestingly, Paul writes in Romans that he's a voluntary celibate. But if people have that kind of sexual tension, that it's better to get married and release it then than just, having it pent up and then committing premarital sex.
But if you do get married and it's not the right person and you're just getting married to have sex, then you're going to be trapped next to that person until you either get a divorce or die with them,
Yeah,
And
Yeah,
that's just not
love
okay.
hurts.
I argue it's way.
You're going to live in hate to the person that you're married to for your life because you wanted to have sex one time. And that just dictated your entire life from that point forward.
Yeah,
Which is not a good or healthy thing to do.
well,
And obviously,
That's
in
wh-
modern
that's why,
day,
yeah,
divorces are
that's
pretty
why-
common, but
That's why Paul says you probably shouldn't get married. But if you have this kind of tension, then maybe it's better if you probably do. But he advocates people that they shouldn't get married, but he also says that that's more so a bias towards himself.
that actually is interesting. People that he was like one of the main people behind the Bible, or like a big Christian.
Yeah, like one of the
figure,
apostles.
And
Yeah.
he like specifically chose not to have relationships or like love anybody because I assume just because he loved Jesus so much, he couldn't bring himself to love anybody else.
that's pretty
Well-
fucking gay, man.
Okay.
Imagine being so in love with a man that you turn away every other love in your life just because you're so attracted to this one dude and worship him.
Actually, from what I've read in Romans, it wasn't just because of Jesus, but it's because of like the things he had done in the past. That he beat himself up a lot, to be fair. Like mentally. Like he would sin again and again and again. He'd be like, why? Why do I keep sinning? Why do I keep doing this? Why do I keep doing
Mental illness that was never checked out because Christians are against mental health checks, and also back then they didn't have any kind of mental health checks.
That is
that? Well,
a
you
whole
also have to but there's also a lot of guilt to back it up too. Like Paul was one of the people who originally were like very like anti-Jesus until Jesus died, and then he realized that Jesus was God. So when he got chosen as an apostle, he basically like got on his hands and knees because like he felt like he was getting at like another like chance at life, like to not be a screw up.
Well, I will say that's another thing we could talk about is everyone. Okay, if you're kind of dumb if you don't believe that Jesus wasn't a real person because he was. There is
literal proof. We've probably found his skeleton at this point.
I'm pretty sure we have.
We haven't found his skeleton, but we actually have like his blood. We also have the crown of thorns that was on his head, his old Bible, his sandals, his robe.
Yeah, we have both. Jesus was indeed a real person. There's debate on whether he was God,
Definitely.
but he was at least a real person. The reincarnation thing is the thing I really want to get into because obviously you don't believe in Christianity. How do you believe that the resurrection of Jesus supposedly happened if it didn't happen? Like,
Yeah. You can't really just gain an extra life just because God was like, oh, well, you know what? You were a good person. Come back.
well, yeah, what?
Well, the intention in the Bible, right, was that Jesus defeated death.
Who does he
And
think
he
he
just-
is? Lazarus?
I mean, to be fair, he did just kind of casually revive Lazarus. Lazarus, come out! Lazarus just walks out in like a
Hey, guys.
a bunch of bandages.
Aren't,
with a rot
aren't you
smell.
dead? Yeah, man. I don't know. God said I should live or something, so...
Oh, there was a whole crowd of people like gasping because they're like, wait a minute, this dead guy just like who had been rotting for 4 days just casually walks
No.
out as if there's nothing wrong with him.
And
Now,
see-
my question is about that. So, What if-
anti-natalists when they get revived by Jesus. God damn it!
okay, or not.
Sorry.
What if Lazarus just, like, got the shit beat out of him, and he just, like, passed out for a little while, and they thought he was dead, so they were like, oh, shit, we better bury this motherfucker. And then they, like, get halfway done burying him, and then he just, like,
I think that's a possibility, but like
I'm back.
I'm back. Guess who's back?
And he was just like really schizo and thought it was about controlling
That's
his
actually
life.
a really good point.
The thing is that like he actually did die. Like they figured out he died. Like he was actually dead. He
now that
had
brings up
gotten
another
sick,
question.
like really deathly ill.
How do we define death?
Like he wasn't breathing. He had no pulse. They wrapped him up, and he was literally rotting in there for 4 days. Like the decay smell from a body like was coming out of
Have
him.
you heard of psychogenic illness? It can have physical effects on your body. He could have just had some kind of sickness that rotted him a little bit, and then he survived it and lived on past it, but thought that he died because obviously everyone back then was starting to fall for Christianity really hard, and wanted to be.
Well, this was
this
before
giant
people
thing.
were like falling for Christianity. This was before like Jesus was like going on like the Temple Mount and stuff too. You have to consider that.
Yes, but he was still alive and working miracles at the time, so quote unquote.
I definitely think
It's not funny. My ass is on fire. Sorry.
there's also cases where people have actually died and then they just came back all of a sudden. We've got like several
Exactly.
cases of this happening, like in the grave.
We've had a lot
so
of cases of this.
Even in modern
Yeah.
day, there's cases of that.
So I think that's possible what happened to him, but what really contradicts that though is like he was in there for 4 days, his body was already like decaying, and he just gets right back up.
He
Of
just
course,
had
he like
epilepsy and got back
stumbles
up.
out because you know he's like wrapped in bandages. He's looking like a mummy.
Man, Ken Brett is really just breathing into the microphone right now.
Yeah.
Anyway, I do.
Wow.
They're falling asleep at a
Breathing.
debate.
I will. There is one point I will bring up personally, and I think with stuff like crazy stuff like Jesus being revived, like I feel like these these documents about like these religious documents being historical. Why are you plugging in your guitar, Atticus?
I was gonna make a joke. Hold on.
Anyway, I do feel like with a lot of these historical accounts of Jesus where he did these crazy things, I do think with stuff like that, like I think we do need to take its historical context into like account, because this was a long time ago, right? And so we don't really have as much proof that something back then happened as in something that happened like in the past like few centuries. Or like
Of course, there's not much actual documentation other than this one book that everyone says is real.
Well,
There are actually several other pieces of documentation.
Oh
though.
yeah, but let me.
Well, you know what? You're gay. Okay, that's
Real.
Okay, that's it. That was thanks for the guitar solo. Anyway, but yeah, even there is other documents from that time proving saying these things happen. However, I do think since back then we don't really have as much we don't really have much like proof that these things happened as we do with modern day events. In modern day events, we have photos, videos, audio recordings. Or just like more like people talking about them, or like even.
I have something to say about this. Really quickly.
Sure.
Sorry, I'm interrupting. So there are trees older than about 7,000 years old that are still standing. Not necessarily alive, but still standing, right? Which
Yeah.
proves that the Great Flood didn't happen. Which proves that the world wasn't created 6,000 years ago. And also proves that, well, basically all of these kinds of things are just straight up false.
The Bible never outright says like how like long people were there, but I would also say
it
that
does
generally
imply.
when humanity really started picking up was like around like 6,000 years ago.
Well, those are more like very like traditional Christian beliefs. Like as science,
Yeah.
science has developed, more people have argued that things like Genesis are metaphors, and that God used the power of science to do the things he did.
Yes, but also.
But wouldn't he
has
also
tried to
be the
convince me that
creator of
ark
science?
is real at some point,
Well, that's one.
and that we found it.
Well, that's one good point I've heard argued, is that like, oh, well, the science has proved God. Well, by definition, science proves everything that's in our world. Religion's supposed to deal with everything that's outside our world.
Yes, but if the science proves that there's nothing outside of our world that can function like that, then there is nothing outside of our world that does function like that.
I do think there is an argument to be made against that. And I also would argue this with I think Karen once brought up that philosophy is the word of humans and religion is the word of God. So you can't use philosophy to disprove God. But I would argue that since God supposedly created the world, then an idea of God should comfortably fit into things like philosophy and science.
Another thing, nobody has ever heard the word of God. Not a single soul in the entire world has ever heard the word of God, even these biblical characters.
Oh, okay, this is a spicy one.
How do you prove this one?
Well, simply put, God has never talked to anyone.
No, he's absolutely talked to people. What do you mean?
Has he talked to you?
Yeah, he told me to stop what I was doing because I was getting pretty suicidal.
Oh, I
While
heard
you
about
were
that.
while you were on drugs or no?
Nope, not on drugs. I was actually perfectly sober this day.
Do you want to get
Interesting.
Do you want to get into that or not? Because I know it's very personal.
And that's not on top of like several dreams I've had, which
Okay, so he
nag.
does. Oh my
Yeah.
God! Don't talk about that.
No, I'm not talking about the Madigan one. Are you kidding me? Actually, bleep that out. Bleep that out.
Yeah, you're gonna have to erase that.
Oh.
You're gonna have to erase that out of the footage.
Okay, let's try not to mention people like her. I like that they should make these videos to where I have to edit as least things as possible out.
Yeah, but you really fucking need to edit that one out. Trust me.
Yeah.
Obviously. But since we gotta get a little risky, I think I'm gonna change the subject a little bit because this is a question that I
No,
think...
that's not risky. You just straight up need to edit that out.
Yeah, I
like,
know.
promise me right now that you will edit
I
that
will
out.
edit that out, okay? But
Okay.
anyway,
We'll get on you just to make sure you edit it out.
Exactly.
Okay, I'll edit it out. Yes sir, I will edit it out.
All right, next topic. Throw it at us.
Okay, so the next topic I was really wanting you guys to discuss, because this is a concept I'm really interested by, is how do you feel on the Bible's, how the Bible stance on authority? Because there's over time there's been people who've hit their children or have done generally deplorable acts.
Disgusting things.
Yeah, against their children because the Bible says Bible isn't support for authority, but it is debated.
Look
Hell,
at the story of the Binding of Isaac,
I've actually heard,
for instance.
Christian anarchists argue that since God is the only authority, all other authority should be questioned and rejected. But
Well, then that's not.
I agree
that's
with that
not
person,
anarchism.
so I guess that makes me an anarchist.
not really.
I mean, it
That's
kind of
not
is.
anarchism.
Not
That's believing in a single source of authority, which is higher than all others. That's dictatorship.
I mean, to be fair, though, it's not like human authority is exactly doing itself any favors.
Oh yeah.
But it's also not like otherworldly authority is doing itself any favors, especially when no one can fucking interpret it correctly and thinks that just because the Bible says one thing that's been rewritten in several different languages about gay people means that all of a sudden gay people are evil and are gonna die and go to hell.
And no, it doesn't say they're evil. It says, yeah, you're a sinner if you do this. You've sinned, so you can repent of that sin. Like anybody can.
Yes,
But you have to
sin
make the
implies
choice to do
evil.
so.
That's getting off topic though. We're gonna bring that topic up later on, but let's answer this topic right now. How do you feel on the Bible's stance on authority?
I hate
The
it.
Bible is very anti-human authority in nature.
Yes. But do you think that could just be a ploy in the sense of the government, well, not necessarily a government, but a figurehead of a group of people wrote this book specifically to control the citizens and make sure they followed their daily chores and orders and all this shit?
Well, that's another thing.
'Cause
I think that's true with the Old Testament, right? To some extent, it was obviously like, hey, here's this law, here's this law.
Here are
Whereas
these
the
things
New
that you need to
Testament,
follow.
yeah, but in the New
We
Testament,
are going to scare you into making sure that you live in these ways because you want to get to heaven, right?
I mean, they weren't really going to heaven back then during Old Testament time, so they were going to Abraham's bosom, as it was called.
Did you say Abraham's bosom?
No,
he said bosom.
Abraham's bosom. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
that's what it was called.
Yeah.
It was essentially not heaven, but it was paradise for the
It was like the
ancient
prototype
Jews.
version.
It's like
Yeah.
beta heaven.
But also,
Have
so
they
you
on
believe in
these
Judaism
content?
too. So you believe in Judaism too, correct?
Well, I mean, as a Christian, I would have to believe in Judaism, right? Because the Bible was meant to supersede Judaism.
It's like the Google Google is the it's like building a Linux distro, you know. Christianity is a Linux distro off of
Ubuntu?
No,
Ubuntu is a Linux distro, yeah.
so Judaism is just like Linux, and then Christianity is like Debian, and then you get even further in, and it's like Catholicism, etc., is like Kali, etc., Mint, all that kind of shit.
It's a very nerdy way to put it, but yeah.
It's a very nerdy way to put it.
I mean, it's kind of accurate though.
It is.
I will say though, the Bible stance on authority is a very heavily debated thing, because I've heard people say before that the Bible states that Jesus, God, they put figures like your parents in order to authority like that in order to keep you to keep society in order, and thus you should obey your parents even if they're abusive parents.
I don't agree with that one at all, because the reality is that the Bible itself says, yeah, you should respect your parents, but your parents should respect you. No, I'm not, because the Bible says outright, hey, look, you could respect your parents, right? And respect is respect. But like,
it doesn't say
the
that
parents also need to
you.
respect their children, which means don't abuse them. Don't harm them in ways that would actually be harmful. Sure, do you need to punish a kid sometimes because they do something bad? Of course. That fact is going to change. That's discipline.
The Bible does argue for physical discipline.
There are situations where physical discipline is necessary, but I feel like those are like extreme situations. Like your kid just took a car and like ran over like 5 people.
I'd argue that I don't really believe in the whole concept of tough love, which is a very hot take, but I don't know. I feel like if you did something genuinely bad, you're gonna naturally experience the consequences of it, like karma. Like I don't feel like the solution to making your child
I
behave.
do not believe that.
I feel like people argue, well, the world is tough, so I'm gonna be tough to make my children better. But I don't know. It's the solution.
The world isn't tough. It's unfair.
Especially in a parenting sense, that's just not true.
Well,
a kid will not learn his lesson if he just does something shitty and then just gets away with it. You know?
Not get away with it,
you just expect, well, he'll get his karma one day soon, you know?
Well, not
like, sure, obviously, if they stick their hand in a fire, that'll, burn them. But if they're just stealing fucking candy from a store and they don't get caught, there's no consequence to that for them.
Well,
and there's not going to be a consequence for them.
Well, that's not really my point. My point's more so... My point is more so things like, oh, they get in trouble in school, the school's gonna punish them, so I don't really need to do too much. Or like... Oh,
I don't necessarily agree with the school punishing a kid either.
Well, yeah, I'll get into that, but Or like, oh, well, if my kid...
Isn't God the only judge of behavior?
Or like, oh, my kid did something bad to another kid. They're not... other kids are gonna dislike him more because of that. Things like that. I feel like tough love, like, the idea is like, oh, because the world's unfair, I should be unfair to my children. I don't feel like that's gonna help anybody. Like, the solution to the world having too much harmful and, like, evil authority is not to give your children even more authority.
Of course not. The only authority is God, right?
Yeah, right.
God is the only judge of behavior, so...
And that's at the end of your life.
You
still have a chance to correct your behavior later on. But like if you're doing that, oh well,
not if you don't
I
know
gotta
that you
stay
should.
this way. That's also another thing. There are some kids that just aren't taught that, hey, you probably shouldn't be doing this because either their parents are absent or they neglect their children. And this is just a result of most of the result is from bad parenting. But it can come from other avenues.
And people ignore that there are bad parents in a lot of these types of arguments.
Yeah, but
they do.
I would argue though
people
that because
really like to ignore the fact that not all traditional families will stay traditional families forever, and there is sometimes abuse in it and shit like that. Which
I mean,
thing
our concept of a traditional family is fundamentally changing right now.
Oh, absolutely.
Honestly, there is no such thing as a quote-unquote traditional family, other than just
like the nuclear.
Having more than one person in a
what
family.
people
Like
think of as like a traditional family is like, oh well, I'm back in the 1930s, my wife works at the same factory as I do and we live around the factory, so
actually they don't work at all because they're staying home and educating their children.
Actually, we have 9 babies and half of them don't live to be 9. And Malaysian babies at that? Okay, I'm sorry. But the... Goddamn, what was I gonna say before? Oh yeah, but
You autismed yourself into Malaysian babies. We gotta do something here.
I autismed myself with the Malaysian babies. That is crazy. Anyway,
Malaysian baby. Dad, we need rabies.
yeah, I'm a Malaysian baby, got rabies. Anyway,
Can we stay on topic?
yeah, stay on topic. I was gonna argue something before we brought up family. What was I talking about? It's on the tip of my tongue. Oh, okay. So okay, yeah, I remember now. So Austin, you were saying earlier, like, okay, so if you respect your parents, but your parents should respect you. So I guess what you're saying is that instead of like the Bible advocating for like authoritarian hierarchy, where there's like, oh, you're your child, you're a child who's below your parents, who are below the government, who are below God. It's more like a horizontal like exchange of power. Like
Your parents should respect you, but if they don't, there's nothing you can't do about it.
it's all like mutual. Like the power is kind of treated horizontally. Like, hey, I respect you, you respect me, you respect you, I respect you. You know, and then maybe the exception to that is God. But maybe God, you could argue God is there too, given mutual respect for us.
God's not gonna
Well-
get mad at you if you have like an abusive family and you choose to run away. He's not gonna get mad at you for that.
Well, to be fair, God would get mad at you for a lot of fucking things that don't make any sense. So, like abortions, for instance.
You know, but let's actually start getting into the very touchy touchy, you know, liberal talking point type stuff.
Oh, like abortions.
Like abortions. But first, I want to bring up the elephant in the room. How do you feel on the Bible in gay marriage, gay sex, gay relationships, all that?
Gay marriage.
I say this as somebody whose biological mom is and are currently in a lesbian marriage. So.
You definitely have the freedom of choice to. I don't support it fundamentally as a Christian, but you're able to do what you want to do.
Lame. You're boring.
And so are you.
The family unit is not to be touched or anything, because that's all of a sudden evil.
That's not what I'm
because of the
referring to.
Bible.
I'm going off what the Bible says when it
I
says
know.
it's a sin.
That's the argument that the Bible makes in the New Testament for anti-gay marriage. That it goes against the family unit.
Actually, I really have debated a lot of people on what the Bible thinks of gay like people, because to me, being gay being a sin, just like let's just take like whatever God says. Let's just like leave that aside for just a moment. Logically, why does God think being gay is bad? Every time I ask people this question, they're like, every time I ask people why you think in the Bible being gay is morally wrong, the answer,
Because it's an abomination.
no, like the answer is usually like some roundabout way of saying, oh well, it's wrong because God said it was wrong. Like there isn't really much logical reason. There isn't really much logical reason given to why He said it's wrong.
If God says
Yeah,
that something is
even
wrong
though it-
specifically for the sake of something being wrong, then I don't see a reason why you should follow that. Especially if there's no logical reason to not do it. And that's why Satanism is just
Epic.
the smarter option. Correct.
Yeah, but like,
It's
see,
epic.
the thing is, Satanism is more like I feel like it's more like a counterculture rather than like a real like like full on religion to Christianity.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's belief in tolerance and acceptance for all people,
This is a whole.
whereas Christianity pushes that away.
I was talking about this in a Discord server. The whole like modern day Satanism is like contemporary modern day Satanism is very rich in terms of as a social like countercultural movement, but as an actual like belief, like as an actual philosophy, there isn't really too much to it. It's kind of just like it's practically just do what you were doing already.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of just pseudo individualism. Quasi.
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking for. And it's based.
But it's specifically targeted towards tearing down Christian beliefs.
Well, yeah, and it's based for that. Trust me, it's based for being individualistic. But like it still kind of just feels like not like any.
Sorry, Christian fundamental beliefs that are specifically against the will of a single human being.
It feels more so like not necessarily like any like actual like churches like any actual churches, like the Church of Satan or like the Temple of Satan or whatever. But it feels like more so like TikTok Satanism, if you kind of know what I mean. It's just kind of there because well, Satan's cool, you know.
It's been around way longer than TikTok.
Oh yeah, I'm well aware.
The ideology has been around
Well,
since the
well,
80s.
let's see what the Supreme Court has to say about TikTok
That's-
in the meantime. You
that's-
know, we're just gonna have to wait for that.
I know, but that's
Well, if we look at what Twitter has to say about TikTok.
okay. Shut up about Twitter. This is where we I'm gonna stop that tangent before we get to that. But anyway, like yes, obviously that's what I was referring to. Like the Church of Satan, run by the vampire-looking ass dude. I don't know how they pronounce his name. It's been around like in the '60s, and those preached kind of the same beliefs. And there's a lot of things they did. Like there was like there was satanic from that church. There was satanic funerals, weddings, even a satanic baptization. But the dude himself didn't actually believe in God. It was more so a countercultural movement.
What was interesting back then is apparently Satanism is like the only like really recognized religion in the United States because other religions haven't exactly had to fight like Satanism did to like have churches
Exactly.
and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Which is also why people find it abhorrent and disgusting still, because they're still not used to the idea of anything other than what they believe being correct in any way, shape, or form. Which is also the reason why transgenders, immigrants, and also gay people are all seen as evil.
That's actually a good segue to get back on topic. So on the theme of gay people, like
I really wanted to talk about transgenders.
well, we could talk about transgenders. Transgenders are gay enough, along with this. But like basically, when I ask people about like transgenders or gay people, their argument for why it's wrong is practically just because God said it was wrong. Like, do you think there's more?
Or because I've been tricked into saying it's molesting kids.
Okay, that's bold,
when
but
even
yeah,
though it's
true.
Or I've been tricked into saying it's evil just because I think it's evil and it's not what I'm used to and I'm scared of it. Or I am secretly turned on by these people.
Anyway, Austin, how do you feel on that? What do you think is?
And that scares me.
How do you think?
I think
What's the logical reason you think for why it's wrong?
I think it's mainly because like, hey, you're born this way. You should probably like the way you're born as. But some people just don't do that.
Well, that's an argument
So-
against
Well,
transgenders.
here's my
But
thing about
see, here's
that.
the other thing.
Oh,
though,
boy.
Because a lot of like some of like the traditional Christians, they say like this isn't reversible, and that they kind of fall for that same trap you were talking about earlier. But like most of the time, it is. So like, why are you treating trans people as if they're like a monster? Like,
they
yeah, being gay is a sin in the Bible, but that doesn't mean I should treat you like a monster either.
And you say this as an
Exactly.
ex-trans person too. You used to be a trans femme.
Yeah, exactly. So it would be very hypocritical of me to say, hey, I hate trans people. No,
also,
I don't.
There is some detransitioners who do generally hate the trans community. Although most of them I see just say like, yeah, like it's fine.
I think
It's
a lot of them
cringe.
got to like the wrong parts.
like most detransitioners I see.
I was gonna comment on something Austin said like forever ago now, but I forgot what it was now because
Oh, yeah.
we've moved so far past
So
it.
I have that feeling. all
Would
the
you mind
time.
repeating the beginning of the transgender argument you were making?
Okay. Well, first I'll say what I was gonna say.
The first point you made.
Most detransitioners I see just kind of like there's the ones who generally do hate the trans community, but for most of them I see who have looked into like most of the normal ones are just like, yeah, it's fine to be transgender. I support them. Just what's it for me? But anyway, the argument on transgenders, right? I know like Austin said like, oh well, the Bible says you're born the way you are, so you should respect the way you are. But I've heard genuine like trans Christian people argue that God gave
Oh
birth
yeah,
to
I remember what it was now. So people
Okay, never mind.
often use but people often use the claim of, well, God made you this way, so that means that God made you this way. He made you a guy, so you have to stay a guy. Well, why? If I feel like I'm not a guy, then God made me not want to feel like a guy. He made me feel uncomfortable in my own skin.
That's
Same way that blindness works. If you're
right.
blind, you get glasses. If you're deaf, you get hearing aids. If you have acne, you fucking clean your face. People are saying this like it's uncommon, unheard of to alter your body to make yourself more comfortable and live more, freely in the way that you need to live.
I was gonna make a similar point, but that actually is a very great point, Atticus. The point I was gonna say is like, well, God made me the way I am, like eternally, and eternally I feel like a girl, so I should be able to transition because that's how God designed me to be, sort of thing.
Exactly.
That's definitely
Yeah,
Exactly.
but you also need to like ask yourself the question of why am I feeling this way too? And I feel like this is definitely a minority of trans people. Don't get me
Definitely.
wrong.
I know exactly
Very
what you're
much
about to
so
say. Yes, it
minority.
is. It's a very small minority.
You're gonna mention like chasers, aren't you?
No.
Well, I mean that's also a small minority, but that wasn't the point I was going to bring up.
Yeah.
The point I was
Grifters.
going to bring up is that like some trans people, want to be trans because they want to fit in with other
Attention.
trans people because attention.
They have
seeking.
they have no other group to be in with,
Well, that's completely
which is
fair.
really sad.
It is really sad, and
And honestly, if you are trying to fit into the community because you've not been accepted anywhere else, then you just need help. You don't need to transition.
oh yeah, that's.
And if you do feel like
trans.
transitioning even after you've gotten help and you've found a community and you're happy with yourself, then go ahead. Who cares? If you still feel like transitioning, dude, all for it. Go right ahead.
Well, that's a good argument, Karen, but I'd argue that goes with any group. And I know you kind of feel this way personally. You kind of felt like you being trans is a trauma response, and you kind of were just...
Well, it was a
this
trauma
group.
response to me being actually a garbage human being, because I was actually garbage.
That's a
And
I
the
don't know
thing
if
is,
you were
like,
exactly
Atticus
a
never
garbage
really
human
fully
being.
knew me back then either.
That's actually a good point for another topic. We're getting to that for just a little bit. But what I was gonna say is that goes like there is like some trans people just do it to get it to fit in. But that goes with any group of people. Actually, me and Karen kind of had a thing about this. Karen used to be in a really toxic, socially progressive group and found more comfort in a more socially conservative group. And I was the opposite. I used to be in like that's when I was 13. I used to be in Discord raid clans and shit where they'd post like very like where they'd like basically like harass minority groups as like a quote unquote joke. And and they were just very like deplorable human beings. It got to the point where one of the raid servers I was in was posting CP just for the hell of it. That I was like, this is awful. I'm an awful person for this. I need to get the fuck out of here. And I found more comfort in a lot of these more progressive spaces. They're like, hey, dude, you can be the way you want to be. Do what you want to do. Be nice to others. Be nice to everyone. As a free individual, be nice to all other free individuals. So me and Austin me and Austin in some regard come from a very similar background. It's just Austin.
But in the exact opposite.
It's like the same.
I would say I come from a very centered area, but I genuinely have turned into the exact opposite kind of center, you know?
Yeah, you're a very radical centrist. We'll put it that way.
Yeah.
But
That you would most people would call me a liberal though.
probably just because
Even though I'm very much so not.
because you're not like other centrists where there's just the center of the right. Like you're actually like center of the political compass.
Correct. I'm just very radical in both directions.
But anyway, so I kind of find it interesting, like this kind of idea that like that being Austin.
But I'm all for progress.
Yeah,
Sorry.
obviously. Me and Austin are all have been on the same life path, just the opposite side of the same coin. So it makes me wonder, like, with groups in general, like how toxic can groups be if people are just trying to get people to join them just as a sense of belonging? And how like
Well, that's how cults start, so. And arguably, religions are cults.
Actually, cult is just a synonym for religion, believe it or not. That's how the word started. It's just that now we just use cults to refer to bad religions. Like,
Well, a cult can be just any kind of group that has a specific leader and doesn't necessarily cause harm, but
the U.S. government.
usually uses indoctrination tactics in order to get people into it. And then usually bad, serious cults will end in, suicides and stuff like that.
Bro, you just.
But also, there are political cults, there are religious cults, there are fucking group cults.
You just described the fucking U.S. military, my guy.
Yeah, exactly. The U.S. military is a cult.
It's just they convince people to join.
And if you fell for it, I
suicide.
damn well respect you, but at the same time, you are stupid.
This is the reason I don't pledge allegiance.
Exactly.
Like,
It's kind of stupid to pledge allegiance to a country that doesn't, support you or your beliefs or want you around.
dude, yeah,
But is only just wants you as a statistic to vote for the next person who can fuck the country up more.
I do find it so funny how perfectly you described that, though. It's like the military, they convince people with propaganda to join the military, and then they end in suicide for PTSD.
Yep.
See, like modern day military does a propaganda thing. If we were to start talking like World War II, there was an actual incentive to fight because there was actually a fascist regime like going on in Germany, and
now
on
there's a
top of that,
fascist
Japan
regime
bombed
happening-
Pearl
never mind.
Harbor. Yeah, you
I
live
say
long
that,
enough
all
to
of a
become the
sudden
villain,
I'm-
you know.
Yeah.
Okay, well, yeah, I do think, like, trust me, I do respect, like, military veterans, like, as people, but I don't respect the military as a institution. Because, like, sure, there is generally times where we have intervened in things and generally caused, like, great support for, like, the World War II, for example. But there's also shit that we just sent people to die over for no reason. Like, after 9/11 happened, we just sent a bunch of people in, like, Iraq and shit, and, like, no, it was all, like, worth nothing in the end.
Because we wanted
It's
to get
all
rid of
to
Al
stop
Qaeda off the face of
communism.
the earth.
It's
So-
all to stop communism, the greatest evil of them all.
Don't even get me started on the Cold War, my guy. Don't even.
Oh yeah,
That was
you mean
all-
that pointless
To
war
be
we started
fair,
with
though,
Russia
the
just
Cold
to
War
see who
made
has the
some
bigger balls?
some amazing advancements. So like we kind of needed the Cold War.
Well, I
Yeah,
know
but it also like ended people's lives and set up fucking gulags.
I would,
Yeah.
I would argue against that.
That just
'cause people-
happens.
I would argue against the idea that competitiveness is the best way to start innovation. Because like if you
Yeah, of course it isn't.
because like people might make that argument for like anti-communism or like capitalism. It's like, oh well, the competition is the only way we'll create innovation. You know, if everyone was equal, we'd have other better reasons to create innovation. I'd argue that stuff like climate change would be like we'd be way more advanced in climate change if it wasn't for capitalism because believe it or
Yeah.
not,
What do you mean, liberal? Climate change isn't real. It's just a ploy to make us stop
It
using
is so
gas. We want to
obviously
destroy
real.
the planet
I watched
because
my growing
yeah.
zone go up to 8 in real time.
believe it or not,
yeah, people who think that climate change is not real. I want to invite one of those motherfuckers onto the podcast just to
that would
hear
be
what
fun.
they have to say about
That
it.
would be fun. But like,
You know,
What
I'm
if we
gonna go on
invited
Twitter
a
and go
flat
look for
earther?
someone who exactly believes that, and I want to see what their argument is for why climate change isn't real.
well, dude, it's kind of. I think I was gonna say I think it's kind of funny how most of the things that are most profitable tend to be the ones that are worse for the environment.
Yeah, that's the entire
Yeah.
reason why anything gets done that is like that.
Oh yeah, because it's for
That
profit.
destroys the environment.
If it were-
Anything that is for profit is going to get done because, well, look at Luigi Mangione, for instance. He shot a guy who was profiting off the deaths of people. And the deaths of people weren't being stopped because they caused profit.
You really are obsessed with that event. You know that?
I am very obsessed with him.
I know, not like I blame
I
you.
feel like my only critique of that in general is that that's kind of like killing a B1 battle droid because they're just gonna filter him out with another guy and another AI.
That's exactly
That's
what
not like
happened.
killing a... That's not like killing a B1 battle droid. That's like killing Darth Vader and then fucking Kylo Ren shows up, you know?
I would
We
argue-
Okay,
killed
now
one
all the
evil,
B1
we're gonna
battle
just-
droids are Darth Vader.
I'd argue this was a good event, right? But the reason that it's culturally significant is not because this guy died. It's because he specifically died because someone shot him. If this guy just died of a heart attack or something, no one would care. He's a nobody CEO who has been instantly replaced by another nobody CEO. No one would have given a shit if he just like died of a heart attack. But just the idea that this guy had the guts to go kill this guy, the CEO, for the shit he's done, that sparks faith in the American people.
Exactly. And I think it's good that that's sparking an actual debate on whether it's good to just sit back and let companies fuck up your life, and whether or not we should actually take genuine action over this. Because we should.
We should. I wish that action could be peaceful, but the way America is right
If
now,
we
I
did-
might not be able to.
If we did do that instead of believing the lie that voting will actually do anything for us and allow us to actually do anything, because there's another 50% of the entire fucking country that's going to go against anything that anyone who wants to actually, you know, stop this says, because they're also falling for the exact same stupid fucking propaganda, then we might actually get something done if people wake the fuck up and actually start fighting against this kind of bullshit.
Anyway,
Sorry to
we are
interrupt you
getting
here, but
Yeah.
the American Constitution does say you have the right to rebel, but it also says if you lose, don't get mad that y'all lost. Like you knew this was gonna happen anyway, and your punishment is death.
the Democratic Party after he was in the election.
Yeah, pretty much.
Anyway,
Basically.
b-
Except for, you know what's funny? We didn't raid we didn't raid the fucking Capitol building of the United States of America.
dude,
There's
We also
talks
didn't
about those
cry
guys
about
being
it and say
pardoned
that we...
for it.
dude, if we really,
We also didn't...
dude, if
We also didn't cry about it everywhere that we could and be like, well, it was actually a miscount. We actually got a miscount, and we need a recount, and we're you know, and crying about it like a little bitch until we get what we want.
People have been
you know?
arguing that since like Barack Obama.
Dude, over in the taking the capital, like trying to like invade the capital would have been based if it was like I think like leftist or like libertarian anarchist type thing. But like it's like
No, it wouldn't, because then the conservatives would use it as a giant talking point against everyone that's on any progressive side
well, still, it's like so it's
to argue why
well, still,
stupid shit like.
well, yeah, but also it's like someone invaded, people were trying to invade the capital, huh? It was the fascist, huh? You know.
Yeah, but even if it is the progressives, we're still destroying shit, you know.
Fair enough, I
I
guess.
do
but
find
I
I
don't
do
think we
find
should do
destroying
that.
government institutions very good. However, it does paint a bad image if you do that, and that's the only reason why I would ever be against it.
Well, yeah, it has to be successful for it to be like the outcome to be good, because I think it should, because the American government's absolutely bloated. That's its main issue right now.
Of course, that's the entire problem with it. That's the entire reason why it is the way it is. The rich have complete control over it. Literally, Elon is in complete control of the government right now. You know, President Elon Musk.
Oh,
Yeah.
Anyway, we are getting very off topic. This is a great conversation, so I'll let it continue, but we're getting very off topic. What I was going to mention next, you said something, but I was being like, that'd be a good fit for our next topic. What was it you said?
I said that the government should not be the way it is.
Oh, no, before that, you said something, I'd be like, that'd be great for our next topic. We'll get into that a little later.
Oh,
I
was it
think-
the thing about me about thinking I was a garbage human being before I became a Christian?
Oh, yeah, that's exactly
Oh yeah,
what
we
it
should get
was.
into that.
Well, I was gonna
That-
ask.
yeah, we should get into that.
I was gonna get to the topic. Do you think that people tend to be better people if they follow religion?
I think they have just as much of a chance to be like good people, I guess if we're talking from like a secular standpoint, than people who aren't religious. What
would
really
happen to
matters as
agree,
far as like the
mostly.
religion goes for like religious people is, are you following that religion?
Okay.
Or are you following a false set of rules that you've created and said is the religion, and you have heard is the religion?
Okay, you guys continue this. I'm gonna-
Islam. Wait, sorry, too controversial. Anyway,
you guys continue this argument. I'm gonna go pee real quick. You guys continue what you're talking about.
yes, just
All right.
announce that towards the entire audience. Why don't you?
Well, he can edit it out if you want. Who
That's
fucking...
fair.
Anyways, I think, all right, that
I think
generally, if you are religious, you have a higher chance of being, you know, a bigot or whatever, what have you, because in general, you are believing in something that a lot of people are using as a way to just hate other people and cause hate, and that's not a good
yeah,
thing.
I don't agree with that. I don't think people should be using religion as a vector to like throw.
Well, of course
to,
they
like,
shouldn't
vent.
be, but they are.
Yeah, yeah, they are. That's
that's the
why
problem.
I don't really think of like my belief. Of, like,
Yeah,
him-
misconception of everything that he stands for, as well as what Jesus stands for.
Because I hear from like a lot of like people on the right, like, yeah, you know, Jesus, God, guns in America. I'm just like, no, Jesus would not be advocating for like half the things you guys are advocating for. Let's be real.
Jesus would not, in fact, be advocating for you pushing immigrants out who are trying to escape terrible situations. He also would not
However,
advocate
he would
for...
also be advocating against, and this is like again like such like a you know minority statement here. He would be advocating for like asylum seekers, right? But he'd also be advocating for the fact that those asylum seekers actually need to be properly taken care of, which I think the United States has failed at fundamentally.
Of course it has. But then again, it would cost too much money, so whatever. And they're just looking for a handout anyways, which, you know, Jesus is known to also hate handouts, of course.
You mean you're wasting your money on like
Jesus-
that and that,
Jesus
and on
is
old
very
programs
known-
that aren't even like functional anymore?
Jesus is very known for hating every program that could, and, you know, being very anti anything that helps people. Of course. I'm telling
Because,
you,
like-
Jesus came back, he would agree with me on a lot of things.
Yeah, he
Way
definitely
more
would.
than he would agree with some retard named fucking Billy Bob that lives
Like,
in the
he had-
South, owns
like, people
7
are, like-
shotguns, has
People
20
who
kids,
are like
and thinks that gay
racist
people
and
are
use like Christianity
abominations.
as like a religion for a vector to trust, like vent out like racism. He literally had like several different like groups of people watching him. Like he had an Ethiopian
Yeah.
girl,
Okay,
he had like a girl, and sure the women weren't apostles,
Hell,
but like
he hung
they
out
were
with
still like
prostitutes just because he thought they were chill.
Oh yeah.
Like,
yeah, like he
hung out with
sinners
all walks of
deliberately.
life. Exactly.
You know, actually, this
And,
actually.
and I
enjoyed
think
hanging out with
I think this is so stupid. I think this is so stupid that Christians judge other Christians for sitting with like a Satanist at a table, because like
Oh.
at the end of the day, we're both people.
It's
We're
all
both
about
gonna
trying
talk.
to exactly. It's all about trying to actually, understand each other and come to understandings and try to coexist with each other. And,
Actually,
love thy
be-
neighbor. Right?
Exactly. It's about loving thy neighbor. It's not
At
about
least both of
hating
you guys can
everyone
agree on
around you
that.
just because of their beliefs.
At least both of you agree with that.
Of course we can. That's the one thing That's like the one thing I stand for.
You want to know actually? There's a great there's a great story from the Bible my dad always reminds me of about this topic. So you could probably get more specifics on it, Karen, to just correct me, but like whatever, like after I'm done saying this. But like, so there was like this prostitute, right? Who was like who was getting tortured, like punished for being a prostitute. Like they're throwing rocks at her, and Jesus steps in and is like, who here who hasn't sinned, throw the first stone. And nobody threw a stone.
Yeah, that's a great point, because guess what? Everybody there had
Everybody-
been sinning.
Everybody alive has sinned. No matter how good of
Yeah.
a Christian you are, you have sinned at some point.
Oh,
The
absolutely.
Bible has
Yeah.
so many fucking rules to follow that you would not. It's impossible to live without sin. Right?
I love how people.
That's
Even
why the
pastors
Bible
will
also
tell you
says
this.
you're going to fall short of the glory of God like several times. Like
As long as
no
you
matter
feel
who
bad
you
about
are.
it, you'll get to heaven.
Dude, actually, this reminds me. This is kind of a point I was
Well,
going to bring up.
if you repent afterwards and try to not do it.
I guess that
again.
is
But people
actually
do
that's.
generally fall
I was
back
gonna
into
say
it
that's
again
more
and
like
again
a
and again.
Jewish take, where if you are genuinely a good person, then you'll just go to heaven. But that's. I honestly, I feel like Judaism has a lot of better morals than Christianity, just generally.
We'll get to that topic later.
Uh,
But
wait till we start talking about the circumcision of babies, okay?
Okay.
Okay, well, I disagree with that, obviously.
Don't
I'm
say
saying
what
the way
don't
they
say
get to
what
heaven
country
is
they're
just
from.
whether or not
Don't
you're a
say
good
what
person.
country they're from.
I'm not talking about the country they are from. I am talking about the religion itself,
I know.
not the place
Okay.
of its origin,
I was-
not the people who follow it. I don't care about any of that.
I was
I
talking
am
about the
saying,
babies. I was talking
in
about the
general,
babies.
Judaism is not from Malaysia.
I know.
Did you just autism back to Malaysia yourself? Oh, that
Israel babies?
Oh my god.
Real babies, all Malaysian.
Anyways, but the way they get to heaven in Judaism is just, generally being a good person, and that's mostly subjective in, well, their religion.
The basis of Judaism is that they don't go to heaven; they go like to like a paradise that's like before
That's
they
exactly
go
what
to
I mean by heaven.
This is actually a good point I was gonna bring up. Is something I think we talked about this once on a Discord. People naturally, even Christians don't follow exactly everything's in the Bible. I can pull up a list. There's someone on r/atheism. Probably bad to get your
Oh,
source-
God, yeah.
You're probably bad to get your source from r/atheism, but it's still a good list.
Even I'm
regardless.
saying that, and I'm the Satanist here.
Oh yeah, r/atheism is just a circle jerk of hate. But anyway, there's a list. There's a post that's on there titled "Things that the Bible is against besides homosexuality." That lists all these like oddly specific things the Bible is against. And it's kind of funny that most of these are things that Christians don't follow. But suddenly, when homosexuality is brought up, they're like, "I follow everything the Bible
Oh, well, they
says."
can cherry pick at that.
Oh,
You
yeah.
gotta follow everything the Bible says, aka all the things that I'll cherry pick to make your life a living hell just because I don't like the way you live.
That's great.
There's a song from a
There's a Mr.
musical
Rumble
about
song
this.
about this.
You know what?
There's actually a lot of songs.
You know
What?
what? You know what? I just came up with a great segue. You know also what there was a segue about? Mormons. Next topic. What do you guys think of Mormons?
Normans, the new norm ain't the same as the old norm.
Those norms.
No,
Norm to the core.
the musical.
Anyways, Can I just? I just opened up Twitter. I just want to say some of these categories that are trending out loud real quick because
Okay.
they're
Okay.
fucking hilarious. First one is sports. Ohio State.
Okay.
Makes sense. Sports. Second, politics. Vice President Trump.
Vice President Trump.
Oh.
Next up, yeah, Vice President Trump. Third, Luigi Maggione.
Uh-huh.
Fourth, President-elect Musk. Fifth, Donnie. Sixth,
God.
Nazis. Seventh, sports.
Isn't this just Twitter every day?
Again, Cam Reddish. Eighth, Zay Flowers.
Yeah.
Another sports one. There's like 3 sports ones, and then it goes back to Panama Canal.
Pretty
So
much.
it's just President-elect Musk and VP Trump.
In sports.
Which
Wait,
is amazing.
does that make JD Vance the vice president?
No, he's the first one. He's the first one.
Okay.
It's like my
Oh,
N64
no.
collection.
You understand
It's
it
like it's like my N64 collection. There's a few interesting but debatable in quality games and a shit ton of sports games.
Also, I gotta find it funny how the Bible says that the rich should not be in the power that they are in, and they are usually false idols who got there from exactly what you think they got there from, exploiting people who didn't deserve to be exploited. But then Christians will go out of their way and spread their back so far against them and like basically jack off their fucking shoes and be like, no, actually this person deserves all the power because they're smart and beautiful and amazing.
Like
I
me,
don't
I'm
agree
smart-
with that.
Just like me, I'm smart, beautiful, and amazing, guys. That's why you should subscribe. We're all smart, beautiful, and amazing.
But
Yeah.
some Christians will like basically jack off Elon Musk online and be like, oh, but he's so fit to be the president because he's like the best
Yeah,
person
I
alive.
don't understand that.
Neither do I.
My
The Bible literally says that not to do exactly what you are doing, which is sucking up to millionaires for the sake of sucking up to millionaires, especially if they are false idols. That man is a false idol. If anything,
The Bible
if
also
anyone
literally
else is.
states, "Hey, you're a millionaire. You got all this money. Okay, here's the thing. Let it
Fuck
go.
you.
Let it go back into the hands of the people."
Exactly.
My-
Let the money go back into the hands of the people and allow shit to actually flow. Because if it doesn't, then people fucking starve, and you're over here with a new fucking yacht.
I will say, my dad.
Or just hoarding it for the sake of hoarding it like, what's Bezos does. Your dad?
My dad is quite the Elon Musk bootlicker. If my dad's watching this, I love you. You're a great debater. You influence my beliefs. But maybe you shouldn't be supporting Elon Musk.
You're an awesome guy.
Just a little question. That's why. It's
However,
a little
Elon
question.
is a
Maybe.
fucking fraud.
He is a fraud.
He literally has an emerald mine where he enslaves children at. Like,
Brother
like,
is
nah.
Knuckles the Echidna, but like not cool.
I was gonna make
You
it.
know?
I was
He's
gonna
like
make.
divorced Knuckles.
I was gonna make a joke that Elon is like Sonic 3, and then Trump is like Ann Knuckles.
See,
Trump
Trump and Knuckles.
Trump
I'm posting that right now on Twitter.
Trump and Biden.
Hold on. Photo.
Hero Biden.
Hold on.
And Donald
I'm
Trump.
doing this.
I'm so sorry.
Nobody's gonna know who that is.
We'll save that for another episode. We should make a whole episode on the Hood Gator.
Hero Biden and piss spender Trump.
We'll get into that.
Bro,
some other
Donald
time.
Trump is kind of built like Mermaid Man right now.
Evil!
Anyway,
Puts a Nazi in front of his place.
Anyway.
Evil!
It's just like you just look on the TV. You look on the TV and it's just like the communist like sickle, like hammer and sickle, and it's just like Mermaid Man pointing to it, and it's like evil. And he has like the Donald Trump haircut. Anyway, anyway, back on topic. So I know I was saying this kind of jokingly, but generally though, what do you guys think of Mormons? The Mennonites, Amish people, those sort of people, like the kind of oddball Christians.
Mennonite? Oh, Mennonites. Okay.
Like,
They're interesting. I'll give them.
Yeah, they're definitely interesting. It was kind of interesting to see how, like, an Amish, like, decided to not be converted to being an Amish anymore, just became like a normal Christian. I guess that's the right words for it. Because essentially the Amish believe that like they're not supposed to, rely on technology at all, even if the technology is actually helpful. So
Well,
they're more
to be
so
fair-
like on the naturalist side of
I
things.
think the idea
To be
is
fair,
more.
also, technology is defined by just tools in general to help people.
I would argue
not
the advancement of technology is definitely a
necessarily,
good
like-
thing.
Phones and shit, computers.
I think
Oh, obviously, it's made it's made healthcare so much better.
honestly, I would argue that Amish people, I think.
But I'm thinking of like
Anyway, sorry.
you go first.
Sorry, weird predicament. Sorry for the interruption, but I do think the argument with Amish people is like they want to live. They don't want to live in short-term pleasure. They want to live a more simplistic life, and I imagine they see things like social media, television as just like short-form pleasure. That's not going to mean anything. And honestly, I mean, in a way,
Actually,
it kind
sorry
of
to
is.
interrupt you. Sorry to interrupt
No, it's fine.
you, but there is actually an injustice being done to Amish Canadians.
Funny
Basically,
moment.
the Canadian government has decided to sue the Amish people there because they didn't want to get on the internet, and they made a bill that basically forced everyone to have access to the internet at some point.
That is horrible.
Even though on the bill itself it says that like people can have religious exceptions to this rule, but they basically forced a $400,000 fine on the Amish people collectively.
It
Yowzers.
doesn't help that.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't help in Canada. They like have like there's like single companies have
Canada.
Canadian?
I don't know why I pronounced it like that. I'm gonna continue with that though. Canadian.
In
Canadian.
Blame Canada. Anyway, but in Canada, I do find it doesn't help that in Canada they have the single companies have a monopoly on internet. Like who is it? Like Comcast?
That too.
I think that's what the company's called. Like they have a monopoly on it.
Comcast is a monopoly on like everybody though.
If you want to hear about Monopoly, off topic, but I do think it's a shit topic. But if you want to talk about Monopoly, look at Samsung in South Korea, dude. Samsung is like you know how in dystopian movies they'll have like the one company that
that's
controls everything.
nuts.
And like you know how in dystopian movies they'll have the one company that has like a department for everything that controls everything. That is literally Samsung in South Korea. In South Korea, they make up not 15% of the market there. Which for comparison, Walmart, one of the biggest American companies, only takes up 1% of the American economy. Samsung takes up 15%. What does that say about Samsung? South Korea is actually just weird in general, dude. Believe it or not, another thing I've learned from binge watching video essays, South Korea is literally a refrigerator right now because they developed such an obsession with AC that they just put AC absolutely everywhere. So inside buildings, people have to wear big winter coats when it's the middle of the summer because there's just so much fucking AC over there. And it's actually tied to their health, believe it or not, because South Korea believes that healthy air is good for their health because they're very put a lot of importance on health. They believe that health is good for their being, having good air quality. So which is why they just put AC fucking everywhere.
Yeah, but there's definitely an extreme they're reaching here with air conditioning.
Absolutely, you think so? South Korea is such an oddball country.
Bro, if my air conditioner is at
Very much so, yes.
negative 10 degrees Celsius, it's not a good air conditioner.
Dude, imagine growing up in the most northern parts of Canada where it's cold as hell, and going to South Korea, which is pretty western on the globe, and just being like, why the fuck is it so cold here? And then some dude just tells you, oh yeah, we have a little too many air conditioners. Anyway, sorry, that's just a tangent I really wanted to go on someday. I don't know what else.
I keep thinking of random points to. Yeah, I keep thinking of various things to think about too, because I gotta criticize some of the Christian brethren here.
Yeah.
Y'all are sucking up to these companies. You gotta remember how America started. It started because people wanted religious freedom from the Catholic Church, right? In Great Britain and stuff. It was very controlled and they basically killed you if you weren't a Catholic. So, real Christians decided to go to the United States and set up a colony there. And it grows big enough, and eventually they ask for Great Britain to protect them. Then things grow up here a little bit more, and then that whole saga starts. But essentially, we real Christians have always been kind of fleeing for freedom for several years, and I think in today's world, in a lot of the big countries, they don't Christians don't really have to worry about that anymore. But I don't like the level of control that governments are starting to put pressure on towards people's beliefs. I just don't like it at all.
Oh yeah, dude.
Because here's the thing. They suck out religious freedom, right? Which means but they also respected people who were Muslim and they decided to come to America back then. Some were obviously racist, don't get me wrong. But generally, Islam was accepted, Judaism was accepted, every religion that wasn't directly harming people then was accepted, right? And it's so weird to me how that is being deconstructed. I don't like it at all.
No,
Neither do I.
That actually is an interesting point, because I think the one bad part about consumerism in the modern day is nowadays the things you buy and consume are a part of your identity. Just look at fandubs and shit, dude. Look at all the Nintendo soy jacks who just buy absolutely everything from Nintendo. And it's crazy too, because Nintendo can spend 2 weeks doing the most absolutely horrible shit to their fans, and then they can just release a new Smash character, and just suddenly all that criticism disappears.
Look, I'll forgive them for all of it if they release Waluigi, okay?
Real. We're speaking the true facts here now.
That's the biggest injustice here.
Yeah.
Damn straight.
The biggest injustice is
We can all agree Luigi was played unjustly.
You mean Waluigi?
Luigi mains when they were unjustly.
Dude, I think the biggest injustice right now is the fact there's still not another Rhythm Heaven game on the Switch.
Real.
That's...
Seriously.
You know what? Fair enough.
Again, this is another thing that is kind of off topic, but I don't know when else I'm going to talk about this. You guys probably know about this, but I actually have one of my best real life friends. It's actually a blind guy that we bond over Rhythm Heaven with, because he's a big fan of games despite being blind. He just relies on sound cue and
It's actually kind of adorable.
And the little sound cues and the very little visual information he has to play games. And he told me the mod is 3DS. And I just got Rhythm Heaven on it because I figured it would be right up his alley, because that game mostly relies on audio cues. And he loved it. He fucking loved it. We did that, and every lunch we would just play Rhythm Heaven together. It is adorable. Anyway.
See, that's people really.
Check the chat.
Oh no.
Check the chat.
I'm checking on my phone so I don't break the stream.
Trump. Trump. Cuckles. Not cuckles.
Oh my god!
So hold on, I need to look at this shit.
You wrote Kookles.
Let me undo that. Kookles.
That is
That sounds
beautiful.
like a good cartoon character named Kookles.
Koogles the clown.
Ooh,
I'm Koogles the clown!
It's
That
not
would've been
funny, my
stupid.
Kookles.
Kookles the clown!
Hold
I
on.
live in your mom's basement!
You're literally just doing the froggy voice again, dude.
How's this?
I'm Froggy, aka Kookles.
Trump and Cuckles? You know how bad that
Trump
sounds?
Yeah.
Trump, I mean, he probably has done.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, he probably has done.
Can we use that that old image of him too?
Huh?
Frame doesn't look like Mermaid Man.
Trump when he sees a liberal. Oh my god, Musk is just Barnacle Boy. It all makes sense now.
It all makes sense.
JD Vance is the dirty bubble.
Next. You need to do
JD Vance is the dirty bubble.
Bernie Sanders.
He's just on the couch.
Bernie Sanders is what's his fucking name? The guy with the ray gun.
I just posted that to my Twitter. Go and like it.
Who was the other villain? Rayman. Bernie Sanders.
Man
is,
Ray.
Man Ray. Bernie Sanders is Man Ray. My God. Anyway, let's actually get back on topic. These are great conversations we're having, but we're very off topic. I'm glad the
I can't wait to get banned for posting this image of Elon. By the way,
I don't know. I feel like there's like
'Cause he
a
really
lot of
hates that
stuff
picture.
that's like I don't know. I feel like we've covered everything we kind of wanted to in the debate about Christianity and Satanism
But there's one thing we haven't covered.
to an extent.
There's one thing we've haven't
One
covered.
thing.
Which is?
I'm not gonna say much about it. I'm just gonna say, last topic, abortion. Go.
all right.
Okay.
There is no
okay.
moral reason to object to abortion other than, well, you're taking away one person's life to save another person's life and, not allow them
See,
to go
but
into
like
debt.
life's unfair. Sometimes decisions like that are just going to happen. But like most people, when they hear about abortion, right?
Yes,
they're
but
like,
if there's
"Oh
a tool
no,
to make
you're
life
killing
more
your
fair-
baby and you're taking the enjoyment in it." No, most of the people who get an abortion aren't taking enjoyment out of it. Let's be real.
Exactly.
Oh,
they are
yeah.
actually actively being, sad about this decision that they have
My
to do this.
criticism with abortion, though, is that it's way too broad of a term.
Oh yeah, abortion.
Because-
People think abortion is just about like babies, but there's people who get like tumors and shit up there, like vajayjay.
Exactly.
They have to actually get an abortion to get out.
Well, actually, no, that's removal and not abortion, even though that's literally the same fucking
It's the same
thing in
procedure.
most cases.
They're the same
Exactly.
process.
And
Also,
No,
especially,
no, they
especially
actually they go in there with a little AK-47 and they shoot the fetus a million times, and it's right before it's born, so that it suffers the most it can, of course.
Oh, that's why I get.
Actually, me and
that's why
Ryder
As
were
if
talking
they
about
don't
abortion.
get it in the first nine,
Actually,
as if
me
they
and
don't get it in the
Ryder-
first 9 to 12 weeks.
Oh, so
usually.
that's why women get periods. They just shove an AK-47 up there.
They just have like a mini AK-47 on a rod.
They just shot it up there and they misfired a little bit. That's why women have periods.
They
Of course.
shoot, and the
Yeah,
result of their shot is Murder Drones, the show.
Oh my God.
I'm gonna end this right here now because you just said murder drones. Goodbye, everyone. I'll remember you on therapy.
Okay,
No.
okay, but like, see, I'm looking forward to like the technology they're talking about, where like essentially you make like an artificial incubator for babies. I think the choice, right, where it's like, oh well, we have to take the baby out of you in order for you to live. I think a machine like that could easily allow for the ability to basically keep the baby alive and the mom,
Oh,
so you
yeah.
can save like 2 lives.
Oh yeah, that's a very beneficial thing. This whole abortion debate would be over if we just had that technology. But like as of right now, currently we don't have that technology. In the meantime, do you think that it's more? Even if you think, like I'm pretty sure both of you think it should be legal because you believe people should have the freedom of choice. But morally, do you think it's morally wrong?
Do I think it's morally wrong? I guess it depends on like what you're doing it for. If it's like your life is getting saved, then like that's one thing, right? That's unfair. But if you're doing it because you can't take care of the kid, right? Then I would say, well, couldn't you just carry the kid until like 9 months and then put him in like an adoption facility? Which, yeah, that really
also is-
sucks.
That's also really bad, and especially if you were raped or something like that,
Oh yeah.
and you cannot afford a kid. I think that if you cannot afford to raise a child and you are not in the proper the proper state to raise a child, you should not have a child.
Well,
I don't care if it can go into adoption because there's already a shit ton of children in adoption. And like we said earlier, they aren't getting exactly the best treatment in adoption agencies and stuff like
No,
that.
there are several criticisms.
So
that I
you're
have,
just
like,
setting up. You are
weird
just setting up a child for failure if you have a child, and then just send it out into the world because you literally cannot afford to do anything else with it.
Okay, well, yeah, but also, like, even if you could just, like, put them up for adoption and everything be perfect, you gotta remember, like, sometimes people get raped and have children because they're, like, children.
Because
Like,
people are disgusting.
Because, like, so, should, like, a 9-year-old really have to go through childbirth? Like, you know how painful that shit is? I don't even know how painful
Well,
that shit
of course
is.
not.
The childbirth could
No
actually
one should
kill
have
the
to if they don't
9-year-old.
want to.
Yeah.
No one should have to if they do not want to have a child. Genuinely, if you are able to not have a child and if you are not able to have a child, or if you are able to have a child and you are going to have a child, you should not have a child. Because that will fuck up your entire life from that point forward.
See,
Obviously,
but, like-
if you are ready to have a child and all that kind of shit, then just go ahead and do it. I don't care. If you don't want one, then you shouldn't have one.
If you don't want one, you shouldn't have one. And I could also make the argument, right, that like a lot of these things happen, like especially like teenage pregnancies. It happens because well they wild it out, or sometimes they get raped, and then a baby's made, right?
Yeah.
Because I feel like our culture has kind of like sex is good, right? But I feel like they've gone too far with it in some aspects, and
Well,
some others they've kind
Who
of
cares
failed
if
at.
sex good, sex bad? My only problem with abortion is that men have absolutely zero say if they are the one that wants the kid and their wife or whatever doesn't want to have a kid. But also people can use that kind of shit as like a trap to get people into like debt, especially if the father does not want to have a child but the mother does, just so she can get child support out of them.
It is a law now where the man gets the right to have a DNA test of his kid to make sure it's his when it's like born.
I'd argue
Yeah,
that's
obviously.
actually a good thing.
And if
That's
it
very
isn't
good.
his, then he can't be trapped in it legally. And a lot of women were actually
Yeah.
like exploding at that because they're like, no, he should be able to take care of my kid. He's the father. Even
And
though
before
you
I say
decided
anything
to
more,
cheat
I
on
am
him with
all
another man
for
for a
women's
kid.
rights, like straight up. But that is the one thing I will say, that maybe you should ask for both, people's consent. Obviously, men aren't the ones having the child. I understand that. However, if you have the ability to trap someone into a legal battle for the rest of their lives, and they can't do anything about that, and it doesn't work the other way around, and they can't do the same thing, then you just straight up are being there. That's just straight up unfair in a million ways.
I guess here's the
But
thing,
men should
though,
not
right?
have full control over that kind of shit either.
Yeah. Here's the thing, though, right? Like, let's say a woman decides to go get an abortion, right? And it's not necessarily that they aren't ready for the kid, right?
Or that
It's
they can't
like-
have one, or they were raped, or anything else like that. It's just because they're just getting an abortion, correct?
Yeah, but like, see, let's say if the woman wants to get an abortion, but the man wants to actually have the kid in his life, like, what
Well,
do
I
you think
just
about
explained
that? What do you think?
That's a problem, obviously.
Well,
and if
that should be this decision brought to you by mutually both the
they should both
caretaker-
agree on that kind of thing.
Yeah, this is the thing. This is why I think abortion and things
Obviously,
like
if
abortion should
one-
be legal, because then instead of like the government having to choose whether
The
you should do it or
woman
not,
her choice.
Obviously, if one party doesn't want the child and the other one really does, then that's kind of a
debate.
issue, obviously.
But
But-
that's something you can figure out, like.
Yeah, that's something you could talk out with each other.
And that's again, this is why I don't abortion and things like that. In fact, honestly, most other laws, to be frank,
They are a
it-
they
that's
are a
why-
difficult issue, but at the same time, not
Uh,
really,
But like, this is why I think like abortion and things like it. Honestly, maybe just laws in general should be legal. It's just because like things are just so because like things like this like things like these are based off morals, right? But like morals are extremely subjective. Of
course.
If most things were just legal, then like people could just decide whether they personally think it's morally right. They could talk about but if they're a bit more collectivist, they could talk about their family. Like, hey, do you guys think it's morally right for doing this? Everyone can.
Well,
live
no,
that
actually,
way.
we should leave it to the states instead of the people who are, actively in the danger of, having a child. Because actually, the states should be the ones deciding what women can do with their bodies, or whether or not a child should be born.
You ain't an authoritarian government if you don't control that.
Of course not.
Which authoritarian
And-
force is better?
Also, I really like how people are really. I don't understand authoritarians at all.
Oh yeah.
If you believe in
Me
an
neither.
authoritarian, government in any way, shape, or form, you are fucking stupid.
I agree with that. I'm like a semi-anarchist.
You're beyond stupid.
I feel
You
like
are
if they
beyond
do,
stupid.
there has to be a financial incentive.
Of course there is. So the corporations can profit because they think that one day they'll be in the same position, yet they'll never be in the same position.
I think personally, I think all like authoritarians are kind of hypocritical because if you think about it.
Of course they are.
Like I thought these like authoritarians like. They a lot like authoritarians who just like Nazis or whatever. It's like, well, I dislike Nazis because they're authoritarian in a way I don't like. Okay, well, so what if someone didn't like the way that your preferred state is authoritarian? Like, there's not it's free to lose it in a way. If we were more free and there was less laws or whatever, everyone could just live the way they want.
Exactly.
Everyone would be happy.
And there wouldn't be control over these kinds of things. And other people wouldn't be able to dictate your life and be like, well, no, you shouldn't be this way because it's evil.
Yeah, and that's
Like, it's not evil. to be gay or something. Who gives a shit?
Yeah, that's something for you to figure out, not the state.
If I want to fuck other men, right? That's not some random Christian down the street's business, right? And it definitely isn't the business of fucking Trump or some other retard in the top of the government.
I do actually.
Sorry, I meant Elon, but
Anyway, I do actually. This actually brings me to something I was gonna say because earlier, we kind of said sex. It doesn't really matter if sex is good or bad, but I do want to mention that because I do think like yes, sex is more normalized now, but also I still think things like purity culture can be harmful because people use like metaphors.
of course
like,
they can be.
Because I think people use like metaphors like, oh well, I mean you're a piece of bubblegum, and if more and more people chew you up, then no one will want you. Then people won't want you. But the thing is, like,
Which is just misogyny.
well, yeah, and the thing is that
Yeah.
there's women out there who are raised in purity culture who get into situations where they're raped and they could leave and not be raped again, but they don't because they're like, well, I've already been chewed up. What's the point?
Yeah, exactly. Here's the other thing about that. If you do follow this purity culture where you're like, oh, no, I have to be pure, and then something does happen where you make a mistake or someone else makes a mistake on you, then you think that your life is ruined, and that can lead to some serious mental health issues.
Oh, yeah. Honestly, I'd argue that any religion can lead to serious mental health issues if someone does things that it just has the natural urge to do things that are against the religion. Because, like, homosexuals, like, if you just naturally have this homosexual urge, I think repressing it because of your religious beliefs
It's
is
not a
gonna
good
make it worse.
idea.
It's gonna make it worse.
Exactly.
And-
Same thing with, like, pedophilia, which, by the way, if you are a pedophile, get help. Go talk to a therapist.
Yeah, pedophiles aren't like completely completely irreversible. I'm not saying they're forgivable, but there is genuine therapy out there for that shit that people can actually
Yes.
take.
Get help. Do not just sit around and then wait until it gets bad enough that you go fuck a kid. Go and get help.
Yeah, go get a therapist, go get a psychologist, whatever you need. Don't go screwing children, okay? That's not okay.
And don't turn to Christianity about it, because they will just make it worse.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's actually interesting.
Don't
Thing.
go to the Catholic. Don't
Huh?
go to the Catholic.
Don't go to the
Don't go
Catholics.
to
There
the
we go.
Catholic.
I agree with
If you're
that.
gonna go to any Christians,
I agree with this
don't
message. Don't go to Catholics.
If you're gonna go to any Christians, don't go to
Don't
the
go to the
Catholics. Anyway,
There we go.
but the
Oh, sorry.
but
Pope worshipping now something he calls a brother son.
but the
What?
Father and son.
but that's the thing. I've actually kind of
Time to give you some Holy Spirit.
I actually read a little bit on this. Believe it or not,
You know
I
what
mean,
else you can do?
I did not hear a single thing.
Continue,
you said.
Ryder. I understood that, but I'm not going to repeat it.
I was gonna. We're kind of all arguing Ken Bread is just here.
Yeah,
Anyway.
Yeah.
So the
she's just been here.
she's been here watching.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That, yeah. Yeah.
Ryder,
that's
just talk.
exactly what I
Sorry.
would do.
Oh my god.
Sorry. I was gonna say I actually did read up a little bit on this because I was curious. Believe it or not, I mean, unless it's done like an abscess, unless like it's done in like abscess. Believe it or not, masturbation isn't really psychologically harmful, unless the person doing it has any reason to believe that it's morally wrong for them to be masturbating. So like a Christian is gonna have much more mental have much more mental health consequences of masturbating if they believe them masturbating is a morally wrong thing to do. If they believe it's wrong for them to be masturbating. Same for like people like in very strict marriages or like relationships. It's like, oh, I masturbated. That's wrong because I'm being disrespectful to my wife. That's something. If you talk it, it's good to be more healthy for both of you. If you mutually like, okay, like we're both devoted to each other, but we both have the urge to masturbate. It's fine if we get it out. That sort of thing. And I think that goes for a lot of things in general, honestly. There's a lot of things I imagine that psychologically they aren't very harmful. It's just that people who do it and believe that it's morally wrong and they feel so bad about it that it's more psychologically harmful.
And also they go and inflect that onto other people who figured out that it's really not that bad to do things like that. Because, well, if it's bad for them to do it, then it's bad for everyone to do it.
Yeah, right. I mean, I am very opinionated, I will admit, but I will admit, my advice on things aren't gonna work for everybody. Despite how cool and sexy I am for saying the things I do.
Real.
I think
Also, there is
think-
not one just one solution for every single problem that someone will. The same problem for some people, you know.
Yeah, people are just gonna have different ways of solving the same problem. That's just how it is. And each way
Exactly.
they solve the problem comes with its own, like, like several things, like several end results, or maybe one that happened. Like, that's just how it is. Like, that isn't really like predictable.
Yeah.
I think a lot of like Christians don't understand, right? And I'm kind of referring to like that one dude you were arguing with a couple days ago, Ryder.
Should I talk about him here? That might be interesting, but continue.
I haven't heard of those.
So I think
Oh wait, no.
people have the misconceptions of like Christianity or like believing in Jesus, right? Where it's just like, oh well, if I repent like ritually like the Catholics do, then I'll be fine. But like the thing about like Christianity in particular, or I guess the belief in Jesus here, is that you sacrifice a lot to walk this path, and the path is very narrow. The Bible says it itself, and it is actually very taxing. It's not easy, and a lot of people aren't going to be able to do it. It's a narrow path. That's just how it is. Because the thing about Christianity is, and this was actually because this was like during when Jesus was practicing one of his parables with Matthew for one of his sermons.
Tool
Matthew
reference?
Matthew kind of like misunderstood. He's like, one thing a revolution be like violent, aren't we like against this? And Jesus was like, no, it's not about like, being just pacifists. It's about a revolution. Because the reality, and he told this to Matthew directly, right? He was like, people are going to follow me, but following me can divide whole families, whole countries, whole friendships. It was just going to do that either way.
Well,
It
it
was
certainly
gonna-
does when you pretend that being Christian is about being anti-woke.
But
Yeah, but this was more like, I guess why we didn't really have like things like trans as like societally. That doesn't mean they didn't exist, but they weren't like there like societally like they are now, which is
Oh no,
definitely the truth.
trans people have
Well,
been around
people-
for a long time. Just that they don't.
people
really have
act
the
like-
vocabulary we have now.
People act like things like being gay and transgender weren't a thing back in the day. And
They
actually,
were.
I'm gonna bring up a point real quick. People will say, well, being transgender doesn't occur in any other animals, so it's not natural. Or being gay
It
doesn't
does.
occur in any other animals because it's not no, it doesn't. But here's the thing: for gays, it does. Yes, transgenders, it doesn't.
Actually, there is some animals.
But
who
it
can
is
change their
natural-
genders. There is some animals who actually can change their gender, believe it or not.
Well,
Well,
it's more
that's-
like a sex
Yeah,
change.
they
Oh
say
my God!
Yeah, but you could
That's
say
called
that.
hermaphrodite. That's called a hermaphrodite.
Oh, yeah.
Gender.
And that's not a genderal thing, because gender doesn't exist in any other really animals. It's just a human thing. It is a human concept.
Yeah,
Yes.
Well, yeah, because us humans.
Con-
Yeah, because us humans have identity. Because
I know.
we've developed identity from being social. Most animals don't.
For what?
Most of them. There's a select few that are very strange.
There is some strange, but I don't think any of them have too much of an identity. They just kind of do what they do.
Like mushrooms, they have like
Yeah.
like
Dad,
like so many sexes you can't even count them like at all in your head.
Oh yeah, believe it or not.
well, they do that for reproductive purposes.
You
They
wanna
do
know
that for reproductive purposes.
You know
It's
what?
not really for social purposes.
You want to know something crazy? Believe it or not, the argument that
I'm back.
there isn't more than two sexes isn't true. Believe it or not, female and male are actually outdated, like scientific terms, because there's like obviously like being male and female, there's specific chromosome combinations for it. Like XX XY. I think that's the two of them. But obviously there's other ones like XX XY. YXY, shit like that, and some
YYZ.
XYZ,
WZ.
XYZ by Coldplay, but there's more. But the thing is, like, some people might argue, and that's like what intersex people are. Those are people who have like different combination of chromosomes. Besides that, you could argue that that's just Down syndrome, but that's I've heard people argue that, but that's ignorant. Like,
I've heard people say that Down syndrome doesn't, or I've heard people say that intersex people don't exist.
They absolutely do.
Oh my
Before.
god.
Not only is there more than two genders,
So
there's more than two
I feel like-
sexes.
Explain concept of this,
Actually, interesting
but-
subject on that. there were intersex people back then too, but basically what the ancient Jews had said was like, all right, you got to choose one. You either got to choose to be representative as like a girl or a
I mean,
or
to
a
be
guy.
fair, we do the same thing today.
Yeah,
so.
we do the same thing.
Yeah.
Most intersex children are like the parents get to choose. Like, we can give up surgery to be male or female. Which one do you want?
But not both.
Well, I think they did it based on genitalia because it's like either off of like the hormones they produce or they produce not enough of the certain hormone, or that like they have like different pelvic bones, stuff like that. It's just not like what kind of chromosomes they have.
Also, my mom just
I mean,
tried to
that's
say
a
that
part of
genders
it, but
do exist in other animals, but that's sexist.
no,
Yeah, that's
Sexes exist in
No,
other animals.
that's-
genders
not-
and sex are two different concepts. Sex.
They are two extremely
very
different concepts.
Actually,
One is a
I
social
heard from
construct.
somewhere.
Very
I heard from
concept.
somewhere where basically like the male Y chromosome in like human males are actually like shrinking, and potentially it could become something else because there's actually a flaw with the Y chromosome compared to the two X chromosomes, in that the Y chromosome has like not like as much like repairability of the genome as like the X chromosome does.
Oh,
So
yeah.
the Y chromosome is getting like favored out for like an X chromosome or a different chromosome system altogether.
Really? Damn,
Yeah.
That's crazy, actually.
So like the idea that like sex is based off of chromosomes, I don't agree with, because the reality is that we humans ourselves are favoring out the Y chromosome because Y chromosomes suck.
Well, I don't know.
Giggity.
Well, I don't know, dude. Like, what else would they be based off then? What do you have a male?
Well, we just call them XYZ for simplicity because of their shape.
Oh yeah.
Can we call them YYZs?
Can we call them YYZ?
Do you know any YYZ humans?
Why is he? I don't know. Is there a Z? I don't think there's Z chromosomes. Correct me if I'm wrong, though.
No, there
There
are.
could be.
It's in like specific populations of frogs and chickens in Asia.
Oh, so there can be YYZ people.
There really can be XYZ by Coldplay.
Well, it's more so, it's either, okay, this is like a strange thing with like birds and like amphibians, but like it's either XY or WZ.
WZ. Okay.
There's W chromosomes. Okay.
Oh my
Yeah.
god! I didn't know there was so much. I didn't know there was so much like unlockable.
Chromosome war?
I didn't know there was.
Yeah.
Jinx, you guys owe each other a soda. But
How am I gonna give him a soda from the screen?
you'll figure
I don't know.
You'll
Give it to me at your house.
You'll figure it out WandaVision style. But
You should just transform the Satanic Bible and the Holy Bible there to like Coca-Colas.
but anyway, but anyway, that is crazy. There's genuinely like unlockable chromosome characters.
There's unlockable characters that we've yet to discover.
Yeah, that too.
there are several more because we don't actually understand a lot about the organisms. So like what Darwin was touching was like bare bones stuff.
God damn you half Japanese girls.
But generally, though, I just realized this. You know, that's kind of contradictory to the Bible. The Bible says God created man and woman, but there is way more between man and woman. Not both.
Well, then it looks like science is favoring out the Bible.
It is. Oh my God,
Well,
Jonathan.
I mean, to be fair though, intersex people back then had to choose to either be a man or a woman. There was like no in between because that wasn't like socially accepted.
Well, some of the most intersex people today, except that's
Although the
parents.
modern excuse for why we make them choose male or female is a lot different than like, you know, oh well they're obviously like non-binary phobic or something. The reality is that intersex people fundamentally actually have a higher risk of testicular cancer, so that's why parents are given the option to choose one or the other.
Well, yeah,
Which one do you want?
Yeah, but it also leads to a lot more turbulence because since they're born as something in the middle, they do have oftentimes a lot of these people do have like gender identity crises later in their life.
Oh, they do. They do. And intersex people, especially back in ancient Jewish times, also did, because they're like, well, what do I choose? Because I'm going to have to choose one or the other, because I can't really exist without being like one or the other.
I know there is.
So they either...
I do know there is some people there is some activists and stuff who are trying to stop intersex like surgery, like because they believe it's more, you know, it's more healthy for the child to be able to choose that later in life if they want to get surgery for
Yeah,
it.
but like, you know, like physical health wise, I also don't want the kid dying of cancer, potentially.
Potentially, but
It's a double-edged
Well, maybe
sword.
you don't.
Maybe
Of
use
course,
us.
Atticus, you want the child to die of cancer.
Damn.
Didn't you get it from Malaysia?
Oh my god. Can we please stop autism ourselves into Malaysia? But seriously,
Okay,
but
fine.
I will say though, there is a, my brother, like, and I've heard some other people argue, like, oh, isn't that just Down syndrome? But it isn't. Down syndrome is actually specifically caused by chromosome 21. I'm pretty sure it's called.
And Down syndrome exists in several other animals. Sure, in the wild, the Down syndrome one probably dies, but like, you know, humans aren't like that because the reality is we take care of each other like a lot better. Like, take care of each other a lot
Believe
better
it or not,
than we were.
humans
like,
have
years
evolved
ago.
past the need to hunt other animals or really even interact with nature at all. Though we should still, but I'm saying that we don't
Though
really
we should.
need to.
Well, dude, and that's
Like, it's the same reason why gender is an outdated idea anyways, because think about it, right? Gender was an identity to determine who would be a hunter and who would be a gatherer back in the day. And it was determined by genitals. So,
oh yeah, that's a hot take. I do absolutely agree with it. The thing is though, gender. People will say gender is a social construct. If they'd be like, I identify as a paragirl, Debbie boy, bugbo gender, like that sort of thing. So you could call them hypocritical, but I would also argue that since gender isn't really a real construct, you can make of it what you will. So those, even honestly, those xenogenders, we criticize them because, you know, people just use them as tags, but gender doesn't really mean anything. You can just make of it what it will.
exactly.
Because people treat gender today as if it's like a label you slap on yourself in general,
Because
which
it
makes no
is.
sense to
be
me.
honest, it is.
In my personal opinion, everyone should just identify as non-binary and just stop being discriminated against, and we can just abandon the stupid fucking concept as a whole by now.
Well, yeah, but that's not gonna happen. I've actually.
Yep.
I do remember we did have a night where we were just looking for the xenogender basically and just making fun of it. But generally though, the more I thought about it, like, I actually have heard good arguments for xenogenders. Mainly that of kind of like gender accelerationism. That being like, okay, well, more and more people just start using gender more so as tags than like actually meaning something. Eventually, people will just realize how stupid gender is as a whole and not care about it. And generally, things like gender and things like it only really have the meaning that we give it, which is a very postmodern perspective, but yeah.
People definitely don't give gender the same meaning they did, like, I don't know, 20 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
I guess by comparison.
Yeah, because gender doesn't really have any meaning, nor does any other social construct, really. Like, even anything could be a social construct, like, trees. Sure, trees have existed always. We didn't invent trees, but we're the species that called it a tree. There was no, like, divine being.
There's no direct...
There's no divine being who said,
There's nothing that said that thing right there is called a tree,
Yes.
and you cannot change that.
There's no divine entity that said that is a tree. Like, we came up with that
Let's
name.
say, hypothetically, this was
It's a
called a
social
tree.
construct.
So hypothetically, this is called a tree.
Language.
But language...
I would argue that it's not a
Language is
tree,
social
because
construct.
a tree needs to be plant-like in nature. I'm actually just looking at a tube worm in the deep sea.
Ben Shaw Austin.
Anyway, but things like tree, the word tree doesn't really mean anything on its own unless we attach it to a tree. If trees that existed, we just made the word tree. We could just use it for what the hell we want, and we could call one of these percussion instruments a tree if we wanted to, and it's just as valid if we call it as if we just called one of the things in the forest out there a tree.
The one name I'm always going to accept as the official name for it is a hurdy-gurdy. Okay? That name needs to never change.
Well,
That is so funny to me.
Well, yeah, the definitions are going to be the ones that are most commonly used. For more debated words, it's going to be whatever people think is the best definition for it. But generally, like, in the grand scheme of things, words don't really mean anything. Same with gender.
Of course not.
Boy, girl, bugbo gender, none of that means anything. We can make whatever meaning we want out of it.
Including making fun of it.
Wow.
Including making fun of it, which is, I will, like, even though
Yeah.
I'm kind of supporting them here, I will admit, it is kind of dumb. Like, fascist gender? Really now? You're gonna
Gender, you gaslight your reality?
you're gonna be an xenogender liberal and then identify as fascist gender? What kind of,
it's pretty stupid.
it is kind of dumb, but like I'm not gonna be like, well, these people are
I'm
using it
actually
wrong.
Ben Shapiro gender, and you can't convince me otherwise.
Ben
Let's
Shapiro
see.
gender?
So
I mean, let's say hypothetically, I was Ben Shapiro gender.
let's say hypothetically I had a gender. It was called Ben Shapiro gender. But seriously, like, I mean, as stupid as some of these sound, like, I can't say, well, they're not using gender the right way, because you can't really. There isn't really any right way to use gender.
There isn't a right way to use gender.
Because it's just a social construct. We can make of it what we want to.
I heard like an argument for deciding whether someone was like, you know, whether they were born with the gender they're presenting as or not was let's stick you on a deserted island where you have you and only yourself. How would you present yourself on that island?
Oh my god!
Based with no social constructs.
That is like a huge thing. I hear argue from like my dad is like, well, I mean, if it was like the apocalypse, you know, it's all a matter of survival. Things like gender wouldn't mean anything. Who gives a shit, dude? Like a team.
Well,
football's not going to mean anything when the world is in flames. Who cares? It doesn't mean anything.
Exactly. If you're stuck on if you're stuck on an island by yourself, you aren't gonna dress at all. You're just gonna be naked.
Unless
no
it's for a
fucking point not
survival
being naked.
thing.
Maybe you'll wear like some kind of suit every once in a while. Unless there's like animals, then you'll maybe make some kind of armor against them. Otherwise, you're probably just gonna be naked.
There's
So
this,
maybe wear, like, a hat.
tiny
So you aren't
like
presenting
8
yourself at
centimeter
all.
bear attacking my toes.
Well,
I need shoes.
Even in like tribes that are mere survival, I'm sure there's people who are like, I wish I was born into the other gender's role in this tribe, and then try to play that role in that tribe. It's not like things like gender don't really mean anything just because they're less important in a survival context.
There's lots of tribes that have multiple genders.
They were
like-
even invented because of a survival context.
Oh yeah.
In a survival
Oh
context.
yeah, absolutely. It's the distinguish who's a gatherer, who's a survivor. You know, who do we
Exactly.
who do we use to make babies, possibly Malaysian ones?
We got it.
We did it again.
Malaysian babies.
Hold it.
Why is it that this whole debate starts ringing back to Malaysian babies?
Oh shit.
What's
It always
going on?
does, man.
Oh shit. Here we go again. Malaysian babies.
No, I feel like we need to get to the bottom of this before this episode ends.
Ye-
Why do we keep coming back to Malaysian babies?
Because it's just quotable.
You want to know why? Do you want to know the truth? Do you want to know the truth? Watch my stream. My stream will tell you the truth.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
Oh no.
Okay, they can watch it in the top corner. Oh, what are you doing? That's why? Because we just love murder that much?
Yeah, that's the reason why. Oh.
Oh my god, Atticus, you're getting violent over there.
The fine powder, but over there. Anyways, that's why.
I love smoking fine powder.
Anyway, yeah, that's why. No. Why'd it go dark? But anyway,
Beautiful.
Up on the friar, down by the
I
friar.
mean, we could turn this into a Christian thing.
Across
We could
the
like ask,
ocean.
ask like how like what does Christianity view about doing things like having such a free market you could do things like trade babies? Like how does it feel on like, corporations?
Isn't
Well, I mean,
that
Christians
basically
seem to
just like
love
slavery,
corporations.
but with like a different face?
Yeah, it's just slavery
Yes.
of extra steps.
The Bible isn't against you buying a slave, but what it is against is like depending on the intention of what you want to do with the slave. So like you still have accountability for the slave. Like you could set them free, you could harbor them for a little while until they get their life set up right. But if you're just planning to like have sex with the slave, like this, that, and like torture them, let him go because you shouldn't be doing that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's a whole other argument of whether the Bible supports slavery or not. And that's a whole but we already kind of discussed that when we talked about how the Bible feels on authority. I feel like
Yeah.
the same fate applies there. If like a slave, if like a slave master is good to their slave, then maybe. But is that likely? No, and absolutely not likely.
Is it bad that when you said that, I got reminded of that one McNasty clip, Atticus?
Oh god, which one?
What?
I'm not gonna say it here. We're just gonna show Ryder after this, but
But yeah, generally slave owners aren't good to their slaves unless like you're pig or you.
PragerU?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, apparently.
PragerU is
apparently.
such a distorted view. Like,
Oh my god, let's not even get. Well, I don't even know. That's something we could dedicate a whole episode to. It's PragerU.
Actually, you know what? That's the episode we should do when we come back. It's either Chris Chan Part 2 or this.
We gotta review Superfix first though.
That's true.
And
Oh yeah.
Which is why we're not spinning the wheel. We were gonna do that as the next episode, but we were just in a middle conversation. We're like, we gotta record this.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Which is also why Gwenny isn't here.
Yeah, that's why Gwenny isn't here. Not like
Yeah.
you can add anything to a conversation like this.
Yeah.
Like,
He would just be snoring
Okay,
in
well,
the
that's kind of
corner.
rude.
like I'm not saying
Yeah.
I'm not saying that to be rude. He's just not like a very debate person, like we are.
I'm gonna be honest, Atticus. I agree with Ryder here. Me and Ryder have had debates with him in the room. He's just like,
Yeah.
Yeah. He's not a good person to have in like a situation like this. You have fun and be on the
Yeah.
playground. But I will say, we were actually, if you want to talk about Malaysian baby-esque shit like that and free markets, there is very interesting ideology that's like free market to like a cartoonish extent, and that's anarcho-capitalism. I mean, obviously, like I'm a big fan of like anarchism, but anarchism means more left-leaning, socialist, because the idea is like remove the state because the state creates hierarchy or whatever, and we'll just like use mutual aid and just be like anarchist communes.
my argument for remove the hierarchy is because they're actually harming people.
Yeah, but anyway, anarcho-capitalists believe in hierarchy to the extreme. Practically, just like any corporation, corporations have the most free market imaginable, and people shouldn't violate on that. They actually have this principle for it called the NAP, or the non-aggression principle. So like the idea is like, okay, so respect people's property, respect people's property, respect people's capital, but basically corporations are allowed to own slaves, but like if you like step on their property and steal something, no, can't do that. Be having that. It's basically a corporatocracy, but it's framed as like libertarian freedom. It's such a weird ideology, and it's like, and the people who support it are like, how do you like
any ideology that supports corporate order is against the people.
Well, yeah, and like anarcho-capitalism is they're supposed to. The idea is that it's a free society, but because it's without the state. But at a certain point, corporations should just take over the state. It'd be a corporate, just turn
Exactly.
into a corporate
What you're
if you-
describing is like a handful of like animated TV shows on Netflix.
Oh boy. But the thing is, it's not like markets can't work in anarchism or even like socialism. Like there's market socialism, there's even like mutualism. Which it's like the idea like we still have a free market, a very free market. It's just that we lack things like profit. Like for example, we'd have some like labor coins where you go to work.
I feel like Rome is a good example of this.
We go to work basically. We go to work, and for every hour we get a labor coin that is equivalent to 1 hour of work. So basically, you trade something. So that's the currency. It's a fixed value, and you trade that currency with with something that took the same amount of hours to make. So if a bottle of Coca-Cola took like for 20 minutes in the factory to make, you'd pay 2 cents in labor coins for it.
That makes
Okay,
a lot
so
more sense
so
than
I
the current
found this
society we have,
homeless
though.
guy, and I trade him a whole gold bar. I expect him to give me his life.
That's just a movie in time.
Yeah.
Did you know that a PS5 cost like did you know like a PS5 cost like 5 months and like cost like 1 year and 10 months or something like that in time?
Really?
Christ.
Actually, I don't know exactly the exchange rate is.
And my mom bought 2 of them when they just came out, and they were still really expensive.
I think it was like
Holy hell.
I think it was like 8 months actually. Like there's a whole video on this, like trying to.
Yeah,
calculate
but the
how much it
scalping
costs.
thing didn't really end until like a year later.
It is very. I need to watch that movie. I think it'd probably be a really fun movie. But But anyway, as a topic, like a system like mutualism would work a lot better than something like capitalism because it's still a fair market. It's a free market, but it's still a fair one. Like it's more like okay, so like you have.
This dude is hanging the fuck. Sorry, I'm playing People Playground.
I can tell in the corner. But it's more like it's kind of like hey, it's kind of like trade and barter. It's like mutualism means either that or trade or barter. Like, you have 2 cows. I want your 2 cows, but I don't really want this chicken. You want my chicken, but you don't really want these 2 cows. We'll just trade them. You know, it's more streamlined and fair than just, okay, this cow's gonna cost 40.
Bro, if I
40
traded a cow for 2 chickens, I'd be rich in my own eggs.
and your own egg. But-
Bro, because eventually I get to cook them and I get to make my own popcorn chicken. Think about the profit.
Anyway, like that's more.
Start your own popcorn chicken business, Austin. Big bank.
But-
You are a connoisseur after all.
Oh, and then I can use like honey, the honey I make as like a sauce that people can use,
But it's
or like to make desserts.
But it is more fair than like just like, okay, this goat is gonna cost 400 doubloons. Okay, I'll pay for it. Haha, you fool! It was always supposed to cost 200 doubloons. Like you see, like you.
It's not just called wage theft, but in trading terms.
It's called profit, dummy.
Profit. I just scammed you for 100 doubloons.
You're paying.
I just scammed you.
You're making some. You're making
I've
some.
been profiting. You can't really top it.
Well,
I
yeah.
throw bowling balls at your head and watch you go to bed.
What the? That's a fuck metal bar.
I'm tired and I have an 8-hour drive tomorrow.
Oh boy.
It's only
I
19.
throw bowling balls at your head and watch you go to bed.
I think, okay, we've kind of gone off topic. I think we're going to have to title this video Religion Debate, in parentheses, and Politics.
And more.
And more.
I mean, that's kind of
I
hand
feel
in
like
hand
this
at
is
that
actually a good stopping point.
It is a good stopping
I
point.
agree.
Because we're getting so off topic. So, in conclusion,
I mean, to be fair, the audience is probably going to enjoy this part the most.
probably. But
point. In conclusion, I threw potions at your grandma and watched her explode.
so in conclusion,
You got giggity with grandpa.
You got
and
giggity
you
with
died.
grandma. You got, we bought 2 many Malaysian babies, and we had them in the background here, and they're watching us the whole time. Full circle. But generally, though,
Amazon brand Furbies be like.
But generally, though, in conclusion, let's psychoanalyze both parties here. How do you guys feel on the beliefs of both of you in general?
Both are retarded.
I mean,
Completely.
I mean like Satanism and Christianity. Like,
Oh, both are reasonable, but one makes a lot more sense than the other.
well, do you think there's...
And my opinion is that a
We
lot
already
of
know what your opinion is.
yeah, my opinion is that a lot of people like Satanism definitely has some arguments for it, but in general, I would say that a lot of people who say they're Christian today don't really know what it actually is to be a Christian.
Correct.
So there's a lot of like false Christians that just muddy the water muddier than it already is. And I feel like a lot of y'all aren't sucking up to God enough, and you're sucking up to Elon Musk.
That's a good way to put it. So both of you guys surprisingly agree like on a lot of things. Like you disagree on a lot of things, but you agree on like stuff like treat your neighbor well.
That's important.
Like I mean,
See, Christians, just because he just happens to be Satanist doesn't mean you can't talk to him. Okay?
oh my,
Fundamentally.
Correct.
that treat down.
We
neighbor.
agree on more than you think, as long as you are an actual rational human being.
Yeah, it's just the nitty gritty of it. You agree on the
To
same.
me,
core
a crazy
values.
I thought you
Fuck,
said
this is the
I
normal
thought you said the
frog.
Diddy Critty, and I was about to say the Diddy Critty.
The Diddy Critty? What does that mean? The Diddy Critty.
Well, it's the it's
Is
It
that
means
like
this.
a political movement, the Diddyocracy?
Diddy.
The Diddyocracy.
The currency is baby oil.
The currency is baby oil.
And on the presidential dollar is Epstein.
Oh God.
Oh my god. No.
Guys, watch my stream.
No, the state of Epstein Island and the Diddyocracy are in a cold war with each other.
Guys,
That's
watch
just
my
us.
stream.
Alright, sure.
This is my average experience with this podcast.
That's their average experience with Twitter.
That's what happens when people find out there's a Diddyocracy.
They're like, oh my god, these guys are so brain dead.
They're so Diddy, so insane.
I think the Diddy gritty is like what you do when you Diddy. It's like Diddying. Like, I think when you diddy on somebody, it's when you, I think it's when you, I think it's a cool way, it's cool slang.
I did eat on your dad. Did eat on your dad.
I think it's cool slang for, when you commit, a essay against a child. It's like, no, I didn't sexually assault a child, I diddied them.
And here's what I say to those people. Ready? We're gonna get the bowling ball of fate out here.
The bowling ball of fate?
Yeah, watch. Ready? This is what I say to those people. Whee!
I still can't believe it came up with that Diddyocracy.
Diddyocracy.
I guarantee that's what people. If anyone's gonna unsubscribe to this channel, it's when they hear that.
It's going to be when they hear Diddyocracy, really? You don't think it's going to be because we
Malaysian
talk about
babies.
Malaysian
That would
babies?
be a justifiable one.
Well, yeah.
Idiocracy. I feel like people would just be laughing.
Well, yeah.
Or if they're too sensitive,
It's like a hive
they
mind
just
bit.
like click off the video.
Well,
yeah.
Well, yeah, but.
Oh, no, actually, here's what I think about those kinds of people. 3, 2, 1.
Bro, I thought you like decayed the grass.
1, 2,
The
3, 4,
grass
5,
were just
6,
grenades.
7, 8, 9, 10,
They
11, 12, 13, 14,
grass to me. It was like you were
15,
building
16, 17, 18,
grass.
20. Do you say? I'm a games but yawning. I'm just Ray. It's my remember game. I don't remember the lyrics. But seriously though, like Diddyocracy, I imagine the viewers who came here to see a serious religious debate are now just like, these people really are brain dead, huh?
Wayne's Diddyocracy.
Hey guys, maybe this is where we can start. We can actually better the education system instead of being brain dead like us. You see?
Have social change, or else you'll end up like us.
Yeah, that's right. You're gonna be in the Diddyocracy too.
What? What did I just come back to?
The Diddyocracy.
Diddy on the fades, all for the game, all a part of the Diddyocracy. Wayne's
pet Diddyocracy. Wayne's pet Diddyocracy.
Don't you remember Diddyocracy?
Don't you remember? 21st
When
night
is-
of the Diddyocracy.
Never gonna diddy you, never gonna let
Never gonna
you down. I'm gonna lather you in baby oil. I'm gonna diddy you. You're gonna cry out tears. Because guess who I am? A rich guy. I do. I just hit all the evidence because I'm Diddy.
My name is Diddy. Not to be confused with Epstein or these other guys. My name is Diddy. It's always been. Because I'm the most pedophilic sons of bitch you've ever seen. I got a new I got a new bottle of baby oil.
We should probably cut this part out of the video.
No, fuck it.
Yeah, maybe. Anyways, this is what I think. This is what I think of Didophiles.
Didophiles.
Come on, pick up more. Pick up all of them.
Don't be shy. Have some more.
Bro just became a ceiling light.
What is that?
Yeah.
Okay, this actually is a good place to stop. Let's all say.
Yeah, I'm playing this so now.
Let's all say goodbye by humming a chord. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Choirs if they were good.
Yeah.
My stream is choirs if they were good. We wish you a Merry Christmas.
Quagmire.
Quagmire. Choir.
Liar.